Hey, happy Monday, everybody. Happy Monday. If you're on here, get those likes up. Tag anybody, share this conversation with someone that you think may find it interesting. Shout out to Demetrius in the building. Hey, Aaron. Yes, okay, I don't want to butcher. I do not want to butcher that name. I think it's Laba's World. Shout out to you for the comment. Again, guys, for those of you who are here, get those likes up. Also, I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of the week, Dapper Gents. I haven't announced it on the community tab yet, but I will. But thank you so much, Dapper Gents, for showing your support. I don't know if you're here yet, but eventually you will see it. So again, thank you. So, so I appreciate all of you guys for the love and the support. And if you would like to show support to the show, you can find me on Cash App or Venmo, Sade. Also, super chats are open, so feel free to show some love on the super chats. I will be sure to acknowledge all super chats. So, just to get right into today's conversation, I'm sure you guys have heard of this whole saga by now. A rather sad story, in my opinion. I'm sure you guys have heard about it. It's been viral. It's been trending all over social media, Twitter, TikTok, all the above. And I wanted to cover it off because I think there's a few lessons that we could glean from this, or at the very least, a few things to consider. So I'm going to bring this up real quick so we can get right into it. Let me see if I can show it. Bam. So, hey, how's it going? I don't know if you missed it, but you are the sponsor of the week, Dapperton. So again, I appreciate you. Like I said, it means a lot to me, you guys, just for you showing the support and the love. No matter how big or small, I really appreciate this. Like I said, I do my best to try to bring you guys educational, entertaining, informative content, things to think about, things to challenge you, all the above. But this is a group effort. So those of you guys who are showing support, whether it's through the membership, through Cash Apps, through Venmos, super chats, through sharing my content, whatever it may be, I really appreciate you guys because this is a group effort. So nothing is too big or small as far as contribution. All of you guys make this possible. So again, thank you. And I do appreciate the $5 super sticker. Much appreciated. So anyways, just to get right into this topic, So if you haven't heard by now, I just want to give you guys a quick recap. So I'm going to use them all from a first name basis because the gentleman's last name I do not want to butcher, but we know. So Christian and Courtney, these were, interracial couple who were together. I think they had met in Texas and then had moved to Miami. Were living in Miami for some time, had a relationship. She is a OnlyFans model and he is a CEO. So they had a relationship. Things were what it was, and the reason this whole thing became viral is because a situation happened evidently shortly after Courtney had done a video on her OnlyFans account. A situation happened where Christian ended up dead. She stabbed him. The story goes that she stabbed him, and he died. He died from the stab wounds. And so, there's all these pictures, TMZ, all these different news channels that have pictures of her in handcuffs, blood all over her body. And they knew it was her because they literally saw her wear the exact same outfit on, a video she'd posted on OnlyFans earlier that day. And she was in handcuffs and blood all over her. And, she was taken into custody. Now I think after that, she said that she threatened to commit suicide or something. So they put her into a mental facility for a day or two, and then they let her go. As it stands right now, she is walking free, doing her thing. There's no charges have been pressed, but we do know that she stabbed him. She stabbed him. This is not a question. Now it's just a matter of, well, why, and is she going to be held accountable? What were the reasons, et cetera, et cetera. So this is essentially the whole situation. They're in an interracial relationship, and things turned out deadly, deadly. Now, here's the thing. I have said over and over again, I have zero issue with anybody wanting to date or marry interracially. I see no problem with it. I think if a man finds somebody that's out of his ethnic group that he can work with, a woman that can cooperate with her, or vice versa. If a woman finds somebody outside of her ethnic group, but she feels she can submit to or work with or whatever it may be, like, no issue. I think as long as the people can work together, that's the most important. But the issue that I have sometimes with interracial relationships is when that is used as a reason to bash or hate your own people group, or just to bash and hate people in general. This is why sometimes I'll go so heavy after a divestiture ideology. It's not because you have these Black women over here talking about, they want to quote unquote expand their options, or they, white men or other men of ethnic groups. That's not the issue. The issue is that oftentimes is a reason to bash Black men, and it's a reason to just spread all this propaganda and all this hatred and all these just lies that are damaging to the community. So that's why I go after the divestiture ideology. Not because I care about who Black women choose to date. I don't really care about that. It's just, if you say this is about dating, but 90% of your talking points are just reasons to spread misandry, yeah, I have an issue with that. Yeah, that's bad. So like I said, that's one reason I go after that. And in this particular situation, the reason this is so complicated is not, I don't think the issue is necessarily that he was in a racial relationship per se. Now, let's just be honest, y'all. We already know out the gate, there was going to be Black women in particular who just already out the gate were going to cancel this dude, because we know, let's just be honest, y'all. We know that Black women, we do not like seeing this. We don't like seeing this. We will big up a Black woman every single day that marries out. We will big it up. We will celebrate it. We will create posts and community tabs and live streams. If we see a Black woman married out to a white dude, like, we will big that up. But if it's the other way around, it's just not popular in our culture to this day. So we already know out the gate, this dude wasn't going to get no support, just for the simple fact that he ended up with a Becky with the good hair. But what makes this uber complicated is that he had a history. He had a history of bashing Black women. And I have some receipts, y'all. I have some receipts. We're going to go through this, but this is now, I think, why it's complicated, because, like I said, in a situation now where this man was killed. Now, I think the lawyers are saying, oh, well, this could have been self-defense, yada, yada, yada. We can get into that. But at the end of the day, this man was killed, stabbed, cold blood murder. He was stabbed, bloody, all of that. And, what might generally happen when the person's perpetrator if that's what she is, they're saying it's self-defense, but either way, the person who killed the person, if they're like walking out scot-free, usually there'd be some kind of uproar like, hey, this person at the very least needs to be into custody. Like there should be some sort of investigation going on. Like there would be like an uproar for that. But the issue is right now, because he has a history in the past of saying things that were specifically derogatory towards Black women, you got a lot of people out there where it's just like, well, he's gotten what he deserves. So of course, y'all got some receipts. I've got some receipts. Now just I want to go over this real quick because, like I said, this is kind of what's been addressed. So here we see some, some quotes he had in the past, full of ignorant Black women is something he said. Akata, I think, which is like a term used in Yoruba. Again, it says, why is there always that one ghetto Black boy in the back talking throughout class? Get out, chill. You know what I mean? The way Black girls disgrace themselves on TV, like it goes on. And then here we see he is thirsting over white girls. He says, white girls in booty shorts, white girls walking around in the yoga pants, like, and so I mean, you guys kind of get the picture. But essentially, he was very not only was he very open about his preference for white girls, which, like I said, I personally have no issue with. We kind of see, and this wasn't even all of it, but we see that there was an open disdain that he had for Black women. There's other tweets where he literally was comparing the breast of Black women to white women, saying that white women's breasts were better, like just kind of grimy stuff. And so this is why I think it's gotten so complicated, because in situations like this, I saw people on Twitter and different spaces honestly celebrating or laughing at his demise, because they're like, oh, you over here worshiping Becky and then you died at the hands of Becky. And so they were celebrating it. I will never, ever, ever, ever take that position. I will never take that position. I'll say this. I will say that I don't wish untimely death on anybody. I don't. To me, it's really sad that this happened to him. I mean, they said he was 1 week away from his 28th birthday, young guy, you know what I mean? Successful. So this is an unfortunate situation. His family is upset. His family, they put together a GoFundMe because they're like, literally, they're like, no, this is not complicated. Like, we know what's happened. We know that she killed, our son or our brother or whatever, our cousin. She needs to be behind closed bars. She needs to be investigated. So they're like putting together a GoFundMe to try to get things taken care of. But they're hurt. They lost somebody that they loved. But again, like I said, the bigger issue now, and when I say it's complicated, I mean as far as how the Black community is responding to this at whole, is because he has that history of bashing Black women. Now, here's the thing. That stuff happened. Some of these tweets, I think, go all the way back to 2012. So it's like, do I think somebody should be judged based upon what they said, back when they were in their teens? People do change. People do evolve. So it's like, okay, this was back in 2012. But now, like, based upon the recent movement, people are still saying, no, it doesn't seem like he changed. It just seems like he was a person that had an open disdain for Black women, that had a disdain for the Black community at large. And so now we don't necessarily feel like we should be responsible, that we should even really care. This is some of the narrative that I'm hearing going out there. Shout out to JoJo with the 5 on the super sticker. I appreciate you for being here. Okay, so see, it really isn't complicated. He was downing Black women and Black people as a whole. You can't put Black women down and expect our support. He chose his path. That's what, that's kind of the perspective that I'm essentially hearing. I'm hearing, look, bro, like you chose your side, like you chose what you wanted. So now that it's gone deadly, you can't, it is what it is. You chose your side. This is the perspective that I'm hearing. I've heard, different women being like, look, you got what you deserve, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess when I say, I mean, to your point, maybe it's not as complicated. Maybe it's not that complicated. Maybe you're right. At the end of the day, it's like he chose what happened, and here it is. I will say, I'm just going to share how I feel, y'all. I'm going to just share my perspective on this. At the end of the day, like I said, I will never, ever celebrate the untimely death of any person. Like, I don't look at this and I'm like, oh, yay, like he was killed by the hands of Becky. Like, that doesn't make me happy or excited. I don't feel some weird sense of validation or, you know what I mean? Like, I think this is sad. Like, this is sad and upsetting to me, that this happened. Even what I know of, he having a history of women who look like me, literally knowing that, or he had a disdain for women that look like me, knowing that he may have seen me and had all kinds of bad thoughts. I'm still like, man, this is bad that somebody was unjustly killed, prematurely killed. Like, that's sad. But here's another thing that I want to bring the attention. I think far too often, like I said, we see this a lot in the divestiture movement. A lot. I can't say I see this as much as among the men, but it does happen. Far too often, though, people get in their brain sometimes that they can just date or marry out, and then all these problems are going to go away. Like, if you just date a white girl, if you just date a white man, then you don't need to vet anything else. You don't need to vet the person's character. You don't need to make sure that they're spiritually sound, that they're emotionally sound, like their white skin makes up for just all sins. And that's like some of the worst relationship advice you could ever get. What's so crazy about some of these different slides, like there was one where he was talking about, I don't know if it's even on here. Is it on here? But there's one basically tweet where he was talking about, oh, black women are always, black girls disgrace themselves on TV. He's talking about how black girls make themselves look bad, right? But his girl is OnlyFans model. And I'm thinking, like, y'all already know OnlyFans, that is not a place where respectable women go to treat themselves with respect. Like, you are basically cheapening yourself by nature of being on that platform. So it's interesting because it's like, here you could be like, man, she's saying black girls we're disgracing ourselves by our behavior, by the way we betray ourselves on media. Okay, granted, I can accept that there are a lot of things about the image of black women that look horrible online, like just horrible in media, period. I can accept that. But now you're dating a woman literally who is an OnlyFans, like not even just Instagram doing maybe a few suspect photos here and there, but like a legitimate OnlyFans page where she's posted all kinds of stuff. Like how like you can't get any more disgraceful than that. And so the reason I say that is because sometimes this can happen within the black community where people, whether it's they don't like themselves, they have self-hating ideology, or they're under this false premise that if they just divest from Blackistan, right? I've heard some people use the acronym SYSBM. And granted, I know not all SYSBMers are just looking for white, because I know a lot of SYSBMers who are just going to other black girls outside of the diaspora. So I know this is not for everybody. But there's some out there who's just like, oh, I'm just going to get me a Becky, and I don't have to worry about a woman being disrespectful. I ain't got to worry about a woman popping up out the mouth. I ain't got to worry about a woman, thinking like they can just escape all of their issues just by getting with some lighter skin. And that is some of the most dangerous things that we can see going on. This happened. We saw this situation with Lauren Smith Fields, right? Similar scenario where young black girl, decided to date out. I don't have any issues with that per se, but you go back into her history and she has all these tweets or all these things where she's disparaging black men. And then now she ends up being dead at the hands of a white man, presumably. And this is the thing that's happening. I think sometimes if we do get into a situation thinking that because a person is just white or a person is just a certain ethnicity, that we're just automatically going to be fine. We're going to avoid all these issues that we think only are in our community. We're not going to have to deal with emotional abuse or physical abuse. We're not going to have to deal with the Pookie and Ray Ray kind of behavior, the dusty behavior. We're not going to have to deal with disrespectful women or disrespectful men. We are just completely mistaken. We are just completely mistaken. And unfortunately, this is the kind of stuff that I think can not only can it end up just being a problem, like it can really, 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 really be dangerous. It can be really dangerous. It can be really, really dangerous. And I think if nothing else, this is something that I want to continue to reiterate. It's like if you decide to date and marry somebody, we have to use common sense. You have to first look at the character of the person. Look at where they're at spiritually. Are they spiritually grounded? Do they have a good connection with God? Like that's more than anything. Where are they emotionally? Like, do they have character? Like those intrinsic qualities are so much more important than their race. Like, and I'm like, to me, this should be common sense. This should be like, oh, this is like, duh. This is duh. But unfortunately, we kind of see these things over and over again being portrayed. We see these things being narratives being pushed. Sometimes these self-hating narratives being pushed, and the person ends up hurt. Sometimes the person ends up dead. Person ends up struggling. Like, and it's just, yeah. I'm like, we have got to use common sense. We have got to use common sense. And it's unfortunate because he's not here. He's not here to share his side. Like I said, for all we know, he could have been like, oh man, like I've changed. Like I went, this was 10 years ago. Like I don't think like that anymore. I don't know. Like he could have a totally different mindset, but we don't know. He is not here to share his side. He's not here to share his perspective. He is no longer with us. And it's at the hands of the white woman that he openly said that he preferred, that we could assume he thought he was going to be safe with, just based upon some of the different tweets. Like, y'all, this isn't even all of them. There are many other ones where he was openly, not only just talking, I'm not talking about preferences, like just openly just like lusting after white girls. He's like, I need white girls. And I'm like, bruh, like you better make sure you get your white girl with some substance if that's what you want, because if not, you can end up, and this is what happened. Y'all, look what happened. So anyways, guys, if you're on here, get those likes up. Shout out to Dapper just with the 5 on the super. Ooh, wrong one. I see some comments in here, y'all. I'm just rambling off. Yeah, you said having no sympathy and celebrating are two different things. Yeah, no, I hear you. There is some out there who are low key like making jokes about his death, and I'm like, to me, I don't care if I don't agree with the person. I think there always should just be a level of respect when it comes to an untimely death, especially. So also shout out to Marco Polo with the $4.99 on the super chat. I see he was doing porn with his girlfriend. Ooh, oh, I don't know. I don't really know that. I haven't heard that one. I have not heard that one. That would be interesting. If so, that's even, oh gosh, that's even more problematic. But I guess, unfortunately, that kind of comes with that kind of lifestyle too. But anyways, y'all, so if you're here, get those likes up, y'all. So yeah, like I said, just getting back into it. Like I said, at the end of the day, I will continue to drive this home, especially those, I mean, I guess those out there who are detractors. It doesn't even matter because half of them don't listen to my content anyways. But my position on interracial dating, mating, zero issue with it. The issue that I have is that, again, when you use it for a reason to disparage your people, and not only I think that's just a bad look, it can be incredibly dangerous. How many cases have we seen where the person ends up dead? And then here's another thing that we like, that again, have to reiterate. At the end of the day, I wonder, and this may be something you guys can let me know. I wonder, do you think she's even going to be, is she even going to like hit trial? Is she going to be held accountable? Is she going to serve any time, or is there going to be a slap on the wrist? Because let's just be honest. I've said this before. Like, yeah, under the eyes of God, we're all the same. God loves us all the same. But in this world that we live in, we are not all seen the same. So you have a young, pretty blonde, okay, and a black male going into the judicial system. Who do you think is going to have a better chance at a win? Like, I don't think this should be complicated. So she cries domestic violence, like literally. She got taken and blood is all over her. Her partner is dead. She says, oh, I'm mentally unwell, ends up going to an institution for a day, is released. I mean, talk about, I don't know if you want to call it white privilege, woman privilege, whatever. But we already know if the roles were reversed and the police came in and this black man had blood all over his shirt, his white girl laying on the floor with blood all over her dead, do you think he could have cried insanity and then been let go the day later? Like, really? So we already know, this is another thing I always say too. It's like, you can date and marry interracially, but you also have to be realistic about the implications. You're not going to be treated the same. You're not. Like, yeah, you can go in certain areas where they may try to pretend like they're more equal or they're more liberal or maybe it's more diverse. But there are going to be times throughout your experience that you are reminded, like, oh yeah, the world sees us differently. So you have to navigate. You have to be realistic. And the reality is, if you're in a relationship, you're a black person and you're in a relationship with a white person, of course you wouldn't hope you would have to get into a situation where the law enforcement would have to get involved. Of course you would never hope that. But in the events that you do, 9 times out of 10, you have to know that you're probably not going to be seen. May not be seen equally by the law. You're just not. I would not be surprised if she got off scot-free or with a slap on the wrist. Personally, I would not be surprised. I would be surprised if she actually got held accountable for his death. But to me, a likely source is, oh, self-defense. Oh, I was scared for my life, and then his life is gone. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what ends up happening, because, like I said, again, we can try to pretend and act like race doesn't exist and this system doesn't operate sometimes based upon race, but that just ain't the truth. And like I said, that's another thing you have to be honest about. Like I said, you can have whatever preference you want, but you need to be honest about what is going on, y'all. So also shout out to Better You with the 10 on the super chat. The 10 on the super chat. Okay, so I see. Yeah, none to be celebrating someone's death, but I'm also not any woman who not supportive of his family, fight for justice, sad stories all around. Whiteness is a hell of a drug. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like I said, I don't agree. I don't agree with him over here talking about full of ignorant black women. Like the things that he said were just, it's like, bro, that's a bad look. That is just a bad look. I don't agree. I think it's disrespectful. But do I think that the man deserved to die prematurely? Absolutely no way. Absolutely no way. I don't wish that on anybody. But like I said, unfortunately, this is what happens when we choose based upon wrong premises. And if he was still in the mindset where he chose her just because she was white and looked good and didn't vet through the character, it's like, y'all, that is not only is that a bad idea, that can be dangerous and deadly and lethal. And unfortunately, here is yet another case that this is happening. And it happens on both ways. Like I said, it can be black women becoming easy targets for white men, but it doesn't mean that men are excused from this. This could happen to men too. And the crazy thing about this whole story, if you look into it, actually, no, I think I want to bring this up because I think this is an important aspect I want to highlight real quickly. Let me bring this up real quick. Because what happened was some of the friends who know their relationship dynamic, they shared some interesting details about this whole thing that I think actually speaks to what's going on. Let me see. So I'm gonna pull this up really quick. Oops. What? Stop. Okay, sorry. Let me see if I can find. Okay, so here, really quick. Wait, let me see which one is it? Where are we at? Sorry, I'm like, I got too many tabs open, y'all. Is this one? Let me see where we at. Okay. Okay, so here, going back into the dynamics of the relationship, and and to be fair, people who know them, people who actually knew them, said that there were red flags. It wasn't like this just they were all happy-go-lucky. They were all happy-go-lucky, and everything was perfect, and then all of a sudden, this just came out of nowhere. Like there were red flags, and that's what I'm saying, y'all. In any relationship that you're in, it's like there are usually red flags. It's like, hey, no, this is not it. I probably should exit stage left, or no, this is good. I should stay. But here, this is some of their friends. It says, okay, it seems as though this story is being silenced. Going back to what I said, if this was the other way around, if a black man was found with blood all over his shirt, a young, beautiful, blonde, white girl killed on the floor in his hands, this would have been all over every news source everywhere. We all know this. This is not a surprise. We all know that's would have been the case. We also know this man wouldn't be walking around scotch-free going to restaurants. We know this, but it's the other way around. And this is why probably, I believe, it could be silenced. We're not maybe seeing as much of an uproar. Anyways, it says Courtney Tailor killed her boyfriend, Christian, I think it's Obumseli, I hope I didn't butcher that, Sunday night in their Miami apartment. She's been Baker Act, so the news can't release her name. It's not confirmed whether or not she killed him in his sleep or if he, So, I mean, I think they eventually released her name. It says, was awake, and this was during an altercation. What we do know is that she did stab him and took his life. Please don't support her in buying any of her content. And as the story unfolds, we will share more, just wanting to make sure the media doesn't make Christian out to be the bad guy. We're speaking on this because my boyfriend and I were closest to them in friendship, and after talking to their family, it seems as though they were in the dark about how toxic the relationship was, and all the abuse that happened leading up to this. Wow. And then someone says, man, I was really looking into this, yada, 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 yada. So there we go. There's some red flags. And another thing that's actually mentioned in this publication is that again, that there are actually signs. They said friends had said that they had seen her be physically abusive to him in public, but he had not been abusive back. She had been physically abusive to him in public. He had not been abusive back. This also goes back to things that I said about, domestic violence. Oftentimes in domestic violence, the story is painted that the men are the aggressors, that the men are the ones, initiating and causing all of the violence, and women are just sitting there so mild and meek, mild and mannered and meek and quiet and not fighting back. And that's just, when you actually look at the numbers, it's not true. And in many instances, women are actually the one who are initiating violence towards men. This is across the board. And the Black culture is across the board. And it's so interesting that in this report is showing that, because multiple reports showed that, because Black men, of course, are usually shown to be the violent one. They're usually shown to be the most aggressive. But again, if you actually look at the numbers, it does not bear that out. We see that women across the board, across all ethnic groups, when it comes to bilateral violence, many of them are initiating. And let's think about it, y'all. We do not live in an era where women are quiet and silent all the time. So if you just think that women are being yelled at or slapped around and they're not fighting back, or they're not, getting theirs in, then we are completely overlooking how American women act. Because we all know American women, Black women in particular, we can be aggressive. So like this whole narrative that these just small, just petite, frail, weak-boned women they just don't know how to fight back, and they're just being taken advantage of. Yes, it does happen. I don't want to say it doesn't. Like, it certainly does happen, and there are cases where women are abused and they are taken advantage of. And also, by the way, there are cases when men are abused and taken advantage of. But also, because we've kind of been learned to turn a blind eye, you see a woman slap a man in public or hit him in public, no one really cares. You're just kind of like, okay, well, he deserves it. We've been conditioned to that. And so they have their friends literally being like, oh yeah, like we saw them, that she slapped him, she would hit him, et cetera, et cetera. And now he's no longer with us. Now he's no longer here to even share his perspective. So that goes again back to my earlier point about DV, y'all. DV is a two-way street. It really is. Shout out to JB with the $8.99 on the super chat. Okay, so I see I am where'd you go? Okay, so it says, I'm caught in two minds about this one. He was pretty young when he said all that dumb stuff. Then again, I wouldn't expect Black men and Black women to support him. Keep up the hard work, Shay. I appreciate it. Yeah, that's what I said too. It's like, do we all really want to be held accountable for what we said when we were in like high school, around high school? You know what I mean? Like, so I get it. Like, people say dumb stuff, and I do think people should have the grace to be like, you know what, I messed up. That was stupid. Like, people grow and evolve. So I'm not as quick to just be like, oh, see, he made this tweet like 10, 12 years ago. Let's just judge him for it and say he's all bad. It's like, no, people make mistakes. People do dumb things. But let's just be honest. The optics are bad. The optics look horrible, because it's like I said, now fast forward in his most recent years, he's still with the Beckys or with the white girls that he was clearly lusting after over years ago. And there doesn't seem to be any content or anything where he was like, seemed repentant or seemed like he was more open-minded or more loving of, Black woman, Black culture. There was none of that. So now people are just left to piece together their own opinion based upon the few things that we know about him. And that's the unfortunate thing. He'll never have the chance to speak up for himself. He'll never have a chance to share his opinion, to give his perspective. He'll never have the chance because he's no longer here. Like I said, and I think that more than anything is the bigger issue. It's like, y'all, we can't just be so blindsided because somebody got some white skin. We just can't do it. Like I said, I go after that investors hard for this very reason, because how many times are we seeing these Black women be killed in the hands of Brad? Not that all white men are bad, but because they're over here worshiping whiteness, thinking that whiteness can do no wrong, and they end up dead. And we have the same scenario with this guy who, at the very least, if he didn't have that mindset when he died, he certainly did at one point in time. And like I said, that mindset unchecked is incredibly dangerous and so harmful in so many different ways. I see. Shout out Jojo with the 5 on the super chat. I see. Okay, let's keep it real, Shay. The only dudes mad that you were talking about this are the dudes that lay up with white women that don't like black women. Oh, are dudes mad that I'm covering this? Is this something to be mad about? I don't know what's to be mad about. Like I said, if something happens that I think if something happens, it happens. Like, I mean, what are you supposed to just pretend like these things don't exist? I mean, truth be told, this thing I think has been trending for like the last week, but I just found out about it a few days ago. So either way, it's it's sad. I don't know how else to put it. This is a sad story. Like I said, the family seems affected. The family also seems like they were completely in the dark about how toxic it was. You know what I mean? Let me see. Sorry, I just got some messages, but yeah, it's just sad. It's just sad. So that's all I got to say on it, y'all. At the end of the day, I think common sense is just not so common, but let me just be here to tell you, y'all, just because a person is white or not black does not mean that they are perfect, and does not mean that they are great wifey material and that you ain't gonna have to deal with no attitude. Y'all, there are other videos of her where she, I think it was like a video two weeks prior to this whole fiasco, where she was talking about how she only dates rich black men and that she doesn't like to be held down. She doesn't like to be told what to do. She's a free thinker. She basically wants to be able to control her own destiny. So she's very much a modern woman. Very much a modern woman. So for the ideas out there that saying that, oh, black women only act like this, black women are the only ones who are aggressive, who are, fighting back, talking about they're strong, independent. It's like, no, we see this ratchet behavior around modern women, period. We really, 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 really do. I talk and I address black women primarily because that's who I am, you know what I mean? And I'm in the community, so I address it. But I'm, like I said, this cancer mindset that we see is something that has infected women all across the board. And just based upon the different things that she had openly said, it's like, okay, like, y'all, red flags, red flags, red flags, red flags. So again, y'all, please just don't think because girl's white or because she's not black that you just automatically going to avoid some of these issues. Like I said, you got to vet the person's character. Like you have got to vet their character. You've got to vet, like I said, their spiritual walk, their emotional well-being. Like I said, if you overlook that stuff, you overlook the red flags. Here it is. It is what it is. And as long as people continue to do that, we're going to continue to have these kinds of cases, unfortunately. And to me, the bigger question becomes, is she even going to be held? Is there going to be any level of accountability? Is she even going to go to trial? Or is she just going to go get off with maybe some community service and I'm sorry and go back to her life? This is what's curious to me. This is what's curious to me about this conversation now. Just to know whether or not this is even going to be a stain. So, yeah, that's all I got. I didn't have much on this. I just wanted to touch upon it and again reiterate that judging somebody simply by their race and how they look is incredibly, incredibly, incredibly dangerous. Case in point. And if you haven't heard it, now you've heard it. And you will continue to hear it as long as we have situations like this come up. So I got a few minutes. If any of y'all want to come on and let me know what you think about this whole thing. Let me see. Got a few minutes, y'all. Didn't have much to say on this. I just wanted to make sure I touched upon it because, like I said, I've seen it trending everywhere. Also, let me just say, side note, y'all, how do I say this? Okay, just because I don't agree with somebody, this is how I do things on my platform. Just because I don't agree with you or don't agree with a person does not mean that I believe that you deserve to be disrespected. And so just so y'all know, like I said, I try to have a platform where you can come on and you can share your opinion, your perspective, as long as you keep it classy. Like I said, no name calling, no cussing, no insulting the person. You know what I mean? As long as we have basic self-respect, you can have your opinion. We don't necessarily have to agree. And unfortunately, sometimes I've seen this toxic thing online where people feel like just because you don't share the same opinion, now you have the right to disparage their character, call them out their name, cuss them out, wish violence on them. And no, I'm like, no. So just because, like I said, I don't agree with what he said, and I think the things that he said was disrespectful, doesn't mean that now, even as a deceased person, I should just be calling him all kinds of names or just, because I'm like, at the end of the day, That's God's creation. That's somebody that God created. That's somebody's son. That's somebody's brother. That's somebody. So I always try to have a line, just a basic level of respect for somebody, if no other reason, because they're human, because God created them. you know. So let me. Okay. Looks like I got one on the line. Oops. Wait. How do I do this? I'm just gonna move this for a second. Okay. You there?
Yeah. Hey, Shay, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right. Yeah, this is a good topic. It's unfortunate that this has come out, and a lot
Yeah,
of things have come out behind it. But yeah. Hey, just real quick, right off the bat, I'm not really sure what happened with my subscription and stuff like that, but I'm gonna try to get that fixed. I don't. I'm staying at a hotel, in an area where the internet is unsecure, so I don't know if that's the issue. But anyway, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, okay, no worries.
Yeah, I'll try to get that fixed. But hey, so right off the rip, the interesting thing here is there's three elements going on that I see.
Okay.
This is not just about Black women. It's about Black people in general.
Yeah.
But the main focus is, what he was saying negatively about Black women. So he has some kind of specific disdain for women specifically. I don't know what that was about, but I don't know how he got to that. And then the overall fact that he didn't like Black people in general, because, you saw the tweets about how he was speaking greasy on Black people. And then you have the other aspect to where he's an immigrant. And this is no shade to Black immigrants, but, a lot of times it seems as if they don't really understand the dynamics of what really is going on in this country as it relates to racism, white supremacy, and a whole bunch of other things and everything else. And we try to, impart that and teach them and do a whole bunch of other things. But there are some folks that just don't listen. And this is not to denigrate them at all. It's just that we have people in our group do the exact same thing. So it's not, it's not limited to just, people who didn't grow up here or just got here a little bit or first generation or stuff like that. We have the same problem in our group. So that's an issue. But and I would say this, the overall message on the streets is basically, if you are interracial relationship, whatever it is you're doing, dating and marrying out, if you speak greasy, if you speak negatively on your people, on your group, if you catch trouble, then basically you're going to be on your own. That's basically the street stalking. That's what's going on out here. And I'll go ahead and pause for a second.
No, I think what you said is right. It's kind of like if you put in your resignation card, that's what happens. That's what happens. I mean, God forbid something happens to you where you would need a community to rally around you. You kind of are on your own, because unfortunately we don't live in a society necessarily where you leave one race for, per se, and then another race is going to just open up your arms. Like I said, unless you're part of, I don't know, maybe like a large church community or a spiritual group or something like that. It's like, in most cases, it's like people have to band together based upon their ethnicity. And when there is open disdain for that, this is what happens. This is what happens. We see it time and time and time again. And it's like, it's not that, this is anything that I made up or you made up. This just seems to be how the laws of nature work. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'll tell you something else, too, that's not really being talked about. So we know that we're having this conversation. There's been kind of a general decision. Hey, we're not going to really get involved. We're going to stay away from this. The people who weren't going to do anything weren't going to do anything anyway. And the people who were going to be energized to do something have kind of stepped back. There's always kind of like a core group of people that every time something pops up, they kind of get involved and they're just kind of stepping back. And I'm seeing this all over social media with some of these creators who generally go hard and they're like, "Oh, I'm kind of stepping back on this one." But the fact that we're talking about it, who's not talking about it? People from her group. They're not talking about it.
That's right.
They're not making a big deal about this. They're like, "Lay, this has happened, and it was probably DV, like everybody's talking about, and we're just going to accept it for what it is." And that narrative, even before all of this stuff came out, within like a few hours, that narrative was already out there. And so if you understand how things work and what people try to do here, especially with the mainstream media, they already try to spin a narrative in favor of how it is they wanted to go, because they know people are going to pay attention initially and then kind of get away from it. You see what I'm saying?
No, absolutely.
So,
and also, like I said, by the way, they're in Florida. So anybody who knows the crazy stuff that's been coming out of Florida lately, and this is no judgment. I got friends out there, so it's like there's beautiful things, but there's also been some blatantly racist stuff come out from that state as of late. So it's like, that's what I'm saying. People can, you can do what you want to do, date and marry how you want to date and marry. You just have to be aware of, again, how to navigate in this world too, on a practical level. So it looks like I got a few people also on the line I want to add in.
I don't want to stay on too long, but I just wanted to. There's some lessons that come out of this, and then you got to talk about the folks who have some whatever it is. How you get the self-hate? I always wonder. Okay, how do you get to the point where you don't even like the people in your own group, and you're from that group?
That's
like, what's going on? How do you get there?
Yeah,
that's what I'm always curious about. No one ever answers that. We just attribute it to self-hate. He just doesn't like his people. He just doesn't like black women. I'm like, okay, so how do you get there? And I'm not saying that's an excuse for it. I'm just saying, people need to look at that and look at the therapy and what it is they need to do in order to fix the trauma that actually creates that situation. Because he got from point A to point B somehow, and no one's talking about that. So if we have people who have that problem, then what do we need to do in order to resolve that issue? See what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I hear you. I think there's a lot definitely to unpack there. But thanks for calling in as always.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Hey, we'll talk to you later.
All right, you take care. Hey, Better You, real quick. I want to acknowledge the super chats. Shout out to Deanie with the 5 on the super chat. I see Justice needs to be served, similar to what you said about Lawrence Smith Village. This can't be open season on Black folks. Again, appreciate the support. I do appreciate the support. Also, again, shout out to Dabergents, the sponsor of the week. I appreciate it with the 5 on the super chat. Also, I appreciate you. I did see the $10 come through on the Cash App. Much love. Again, guys, if you would like to show support to the show, you can find me on Cash App or Venmo, Shay Sade. Also, super chats are open. I will be sure to acknowledge all super chats. So, Better You, what you got on the topic?
Hey, Miss Shay. For me, I feel like this is pretty much. I feel like, for one, I have to keep the same energy on this whole thing, because the way I view him is pretty much like a male divester, which is you left the community. I'm not saying that any ill will is merited or anything like that, but in your fight for justice and whatnot, I don't feel you can really make demands of the community once you've publicly done certain things.
Openly and publicly, yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's right, yeah.
I mean, for me, I feel like it's a bad situation, but I'm largely apathetic. Like him and his family, I hope they get justice, but I'm not about to put any of my equity or any of my voice behind it when somebody steps outside the community, be it man or woman, to bash community and down the community and try to have basically like to down the community in a way that isn't constructive. It's not for uplifting. It's not to start a broader dialogue in any type of way. It's simply to be negative.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, again, there's a difference between being open and honest about the things that actually affect, men, women in the Black community. Like, that's one thing versus just hating, bashing, finding a reason to spew your own hatred. Like I said, those are two completely different things. And when I see it, I feel like, no, it needs to be addressed. That's not helpful. That's not helpful. And again, like I said, him having done this years ago, he could have changed. I think people do evolve and change. And so I don't want to necessarily judge him and say, oh, because he said these horrible things doesn't mean he can't change, doesn't mean he couldn't have been repentant. But it's like, he'll never be here to share his perspective. We don't know. All we can do now is just piece together what he put on social media, and it's not looking good.
Yeah. And I definitely agree with that, because I feel like that is a little bit of a wrinkle, because sometimes, especially as young folks, certain things happen to us and we become easily colored and we don't have the experience of life to gain and grow.
Right. So it looks like I do have, let's see, we have somebody here, I think, who has specifically a question for you. I'm going to add him onto the stream. Okay.
Hey, can I come in clear?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember you chopped up a recent live, and you asked the question, do divestors deserve protection, right? And I had some comments on there that were pretty unpopular. And I'm gonna, just like Better You, I'm gonna keep that same energy that I said. I think that there should be, and it's not maybe protection for the individual, but protection for the collective, because we can't have open season on Black people. We can't have people walking around, going on dates, drugging women, and then not even being locked up, stabbing someone, and then getting off on the Baker Act, only to be seen later drinking at a bar and posting on IG. Like we got we this I don't know what's going on. It's almost spiritual, but gladly it's not all of us. There are some of us who do see the bigger picture and realize, hey, this brother was done wrong and justice needs to be served, because we can't have open season on Black people. Like how stupid is that? How weak is that?
I don't think it's necessarily saying that it is open season on Black people. There are a lot of other cultures where if you mess with somebody in that community, like it's going to be hell to pay. I just feel like it's a situation where a person that's publicly, it's kind of like renouncing your citizenship and going abroad committing a crime. I'll never renounce my American citizenship because that carries weight. But if I go somewhere and do something or whatever, and I have nothing to back me, I'm on my own. That's all I'm saying.
So Toby's a criminal?
Say what?
Toby's a criminal?
Who's what?
Toby, the brother that died, his name is Tobechukwu Obumseli.
Yeah, who said he's a criminal?
So with your analogy, you're saying it's like other communities that had a criminal and et cetera, is what Tobechukwu Obumseli did at the age of 16, right? Because people are redeemable. Is what he did at the age of 16 cause for him not deserving justice or support? Because you're going to say, I know that the talking point is, of course he deserves justice, but I don't think he deserves support. Does that not deserve support?
In my opinion, no.
Wow. That's cold, brother. That's real cold. And I hope that you never make a mistake in your life that comes back to haunt you in a certain way that's negative. Because okay.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Finish your point. I'm sorry.
Because the man was a boy when he made those tweets. Okay, he was 16 years old. What certain people are doing, and I'm not going to even say women with this. I'm not going to even say divestors, because this is y'all. But what certain people are doing is making the comments that a 16-year-old said, and we all know how immature 16-year-olds can be, and then saying, okay, he got poked and stabbed by a Becky, now he's not redeemable. And you know what? I strongly urge you guys to go listen to Sinful the P, his last live. He had women who knew Tobechukwu Obumseli on his show to give a recant of their interaction with him. He was in the church. He and I'll say this because I know I'm kind of rambling. What tends to happen, okay? Someone can say they love Black women 10 million times, but there's 3 times or whatever that they might have been in a bad headspace and said some unsavory things. Like, he doesn't have a pattern of this. You can't say that what he did was a pattern, but he had these immature comments, and now he's like David Duke or something. Like, it's ridiculous. And I respect what you're saying, but I just see a bigger picture with a lot of this.
No, and respectfully, I understand where you're coming from and what you're saying. All I'm saying is I'm not mad at anybody who's apathetic. And I do believe in grace, but to be said as well, there isn't anything that goes counter to as well to show that there's been any change in mindset. It's kind of like when you have somebody who for instance, leaves a particular community, bashes said community, they kind of renounce the protection of that community. And that's with anybody. And that's really all I'm getting at and saying there. I'm not saying that the brother doesn't deserve justice. I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve to have his family get closure by that woman being charged and going to trial or any of that. All I'm saying is you kind of going it alone.
He was not a divester. Like if that's the image that you're getting about this brother, that is not what he was.
Right. So real quick, I want to I added a few to the line. I got JoJo on the line. I think Kashawn Wilson and Mr. Z Black in Effect. So JoJo, what you got?
Hey, Shay. Hey everybody. So I just wanted to kind of like touch base and kind of, because I agree with Better You 100%, maybe 150. We can add maybe 100 on top of that 100. Because when it come down all the way to the facts, right? I have to understand that Black people as a whole ain't getting behind everybody no more. Like perfect example, Ketanji Brown Jackson. Black people ain't getting behind these folks no more, just jumping on anybody's bandwagon because they Black. We doing the research. We checking you out. We looking who you is. We looking how you think, who you rock with before we jump on your bandwagon, because a lot of times we get on somebody's bandwagon, we end up on a dummy mission. They don't even be for us in the first place. I've learned in my own present life that my worst enemy can be somebody that looks like me. I've learned that. And at the end of the day, I'm not, look here, I'm not what you call mad that the brother's gone. It is a sad situation, but he does deserve support, but not mine. I'm B1 all day. Put it like this. When I put that pistol on them folks when I was 15, I did my time for that. I served my time for that. Those were the actions that I made. See what I'm saying? So now I got to look at what I do. Whatever I do, I got to stand on. I got to be a man about it. You feel what I'm saying? Not saying that he was a man when he made them comments or whatever. At the end of the day, he shows it in his actions. He lives what he said. So for me, he made his decision. That's what he do. So for me to get on the bandwagon, let's help my brother. No. It ain't gonna be like that with Joe. At the end of the day, you got to be B1 with me. I got to see you loving your own, supporting your own, standing up for your own, because we got behind too many people that have not been for us. And we've been putting our energy in too many people. This love everybody crap has been having us running around in circles for years. We better start waking up to this BS that this system is playing with us, and start getting behind and supporting those that support us, period. And they can be white if they support the cause of Black people.
So
that's how I look at it. This is how
this stuff works. This is how this stuff happens, right? So you're B1, right? I get it. B1. This man, Black man, was killed by a white lady, just killed by somebody, and she was able to not get arrested, use the Baker Act. They tried to protect her identity. Is that okay? Is that really B1?
Yeah, it's B1 because you gotta understand. I only protect those who are down to protect me. That brother ain't trying to protect our community. He made his choice. Protect the community is being with a woman that looks like him.
Okay,
protecting the community is standing for your own, staying with your own and pushing for your own. We're the ones that are getting dealt the injustice. We're the ones being oppressed on every type of level. We're the ones that are being castrated economically. Everybody else is getting money, but black people. Like everybody getting money. They throwing the Ukrainians money. They throwing all these people checks and donations and charity. They're giving Asians bills and crime bills and hate crime bill, all this old crap, man, and we're still in the barrel trying to support and jump behind everybody's bandwagon but our own. Man, that wagon is getting rickety, man, and a lot of Black folks ain't jumping on these bandwagons no more like we used to, and we're getting a mind and we're realizing that we all we got. If you caught out there bad in them streets, man, it's on you. Because at the end of the day, we can only look out for each other, man. We all we got. We is all we got. And when that brother said what he said, man, he put his flag in the ground a long time ago. Now he lives by that. And it's unfortunate. It is. But guess what? Ain't no kumbaya for him on this end, because we got too many people that are being held captive right now that were actually people that were monarchs in our community doing stuff for the community that we need to be getting behind. You feel what I'm saying? Like Brother Ozone, Otha Waters out of Florida. Those are people that we need to get behind, people that stand up for the community. I can't be getting behind nobody that goddamn talking about bump black women are trash, this, that, and the third. No. I can't be the fool no more. My energy need to be into people that want to build with me, not destroy us. Period. Point blank, plain and simple. I said what I needed to say. I appreciate everybody, man. I love everybody, to the best of my ability, even though I don't show it sometimes. But anyway, I'm going to jump up off this thing, man. Let y'all take over.
Okay, JoJo. Thank you.
Take care, bro.
All good.
Much love.
He just torched the place in and run off.
Yeah, right. I'm gone.
I hate that.
All good.
Okay, I guess it's my go. Okay.
You can go.
Oh, okay. Is there okay? So this is keep the same energy to Monday, and so
Right.
I will say this. I was critical of Lauren Smith-Field. I was critical of Asia Maynard. I was critical of the brother in Oakland. That was but he wasn't killed by that particular woman. It was a cop, but he had questionable comments about black women. The brother in Oakland a couple years ago, I can't remember his name right now, it's slipping me. But so this brother also, I'll be critical of him. This is the thing. The question then becomes, does a fish know it's swimming, right? And the reason why I'm saying that is because we all live in this anti-black society, right? It's not just white people that live in an anti-black society, it's black people that also live in an anti-black society. And you're encouraged to see the world and view the world the way they view the world. The only difference is because you're black, you're not going to market it or plant it as racism or anti-blackness. What you're going to plant it as is constructive criticism, telling one's truth, right? Tough love, and that's often where black people, that's how they skew it, right? And that has allowed for a lot of black people, like you were saying earlier, in their moments of hurt or sadness, to say some of the most vile things possible. And you see this often with black men and black women, especially these divestors, both black men and black women. It's because they feel lonely or they feel undesired, or who they wanted didn't want them, or somebody made fun of their hair once or twice or their skin tone once or twice. These people then go off to say some of the worst things humanly possible, borderline Hitler-esque things about other black people.
That's true.
Right? And we see that over and over again. So this brother, what he said, it's not surprising at all. What happened to him is horrible, but by the way, we're going to see more of this. I want to let black men and black women know this. You spewing your anti-blackness and then going and running into the arms of a non-black person doesn't spare you, right? It actually makes you a big ass target, right? And I don't know if we understand, like, the internet isn't just for black people. Like, we talk about, black Twitter and black YouTube, like, yeah, but that's not really a thing. There's no combination lock to get to black Twitter.
Yeah,
other non-black people see what we're saying about each other. And I said this on another panel. If you were a white dude or a Latino dude, right, who got a thing for black women, you're not going to marry a black woman, but you got a thing for black women. How easy is it to date or to have sex with black women now that they have put all of their business out there about what they think about black men?
Too easy.
Right?
Yeah.
Same thing with black men. How easy is it if you're a white girl or Latina girl and you're trying to get back at your dad, or you trying to do the young rebellious thing? How easy is it for you to have the whole Mandingo fantasy thing go on with you right now? And because black men are letting you know what they think about black women. it's to me, this is like what Black people are engaging in, and like this form of marketing, I guess, or propaganda is like the worst form ever. Because anyone who's anyone could just come and like pick us up and just take us away, do whatever they want with us, and then fling us back. And I'll end with this. This idea that once you, and this is tied to everything, this idea that once you go Black, you never go back is the biggest crock of crap ever, even coming from Black men, right? Because there are plenty of white women, Latinas, and definitely Jewish women who have had sex with Black men all through high school, all through college, and they're married to some lame ass, small dick, garbage sex having ass husband right now. That's not Black, right? So I want us to get these ideas out of our head that if you talk crazy about other Black people and then run off, once again, Asia Maynard, Lauren Smithfield, and this brother right here, Toby, like these people are getting killed by these non-Black people. I know everything air quotes allegedly, right? Yeah, whatever, allegedly. But these people are being killed by these people, and these non-Black people are getting off. How do you believe in white supremacy and anti-Blackness, but then think it stops at the realm of sex and love? That's ridiculous. And I'll pause right there.
Bars. I mean, I don't. I got room of silence right now. I mean, I think that's what I've been saying pretty much from day one. It's like, guys, date and marry whoever you want, but don't put a target on your back. First of all, by promoting just self-hatred, because if you are self-hating, you're probably going to marry somebody who is going to continue with that self-hate, and they may actually harm you. And oh, by the way, you do exist in a racist system where if you are harmed or in danger, don't think that you're necessarily going to get the same amount of support as you would a white person. It's not, the system just is different. So yeah, the common sense, like I said, is not so common. And we don't do ourselves any favors when we, continue with the self-hatred, continue with just spreading the lies and the propaganda, and think that it's all just going to be fairy tale. Because this stuff is deadly. It's not just like, okay, your preference, my preference. We had an argument, whatever. It's like people are ending up dead behind this stuff.
Shay, there was a sister, and I'll really shut up after this. They owned one of these shea butter companies. It was two sisters. Okay. And one of the YouTubers in this space gave us the story. The young lady ended up dying mysteriously, right? And the white boyfriend ended up taking the business and snatching it from the other sister and whatever percentage she owned, right? I think it was still under litigation or whatever, but apparently somehow the one sister who had like slight majority share ended up giving it to the non-Black boyfriend, at least, before she died, or that's even up in the air. We don't even know if that's 100% true. The reason why I'm saying that is like, even this idea of like, well, I'm of this class and I can't deal with Black men or Black women because like, how often do we see like even these supposed educated and intelligent and worldly Black people end up getting screwed by non-Black people? Like, it's just once again, it's just foolish, right? We already brought up Aisha Tailor, me and the brother a few weeks ago brought that up to you earlier. But yeah, so people are just being reckless with their language, and they're ending up in these situations. And then the Black community don't even want to support you because you was talking about us crazy. I'll shut up for real. I'm done.
Now, and the kind of well, I'll be really quick. The kind of piggyback of what brother was just saying, like there's a lot of media narratives that's kind of been, frankly, just outright misandrous towards Black men. And you have a lot of these things that are being put out there, like that article that Banks wrote, where basically you're putting a message out there that you can sleep your way out of racism. And when it comes to interracial dating, like people have to be aware that we're not in this fictional post-racial society. They are still racial paradigms. And if your preference isn't your own race, that's something you have to be very cognizant of. And when you go out and date, you need to make sure that you're protecting yourself and that you basically aren't going out first date, bringing somebody back, because these type of things can happen. Like these are unsafe dating practices, period.
Facts.
Absolutely agree. I think that is, let's see. I seen your little podcast. What you got on the topic?
You know what's crazy is one of the other panelists that was on a few minutes ago, he said something, I don't remember it verbatim, but he said something that was kind of in line with the way that I think, because sometimes we act like people just wake up one day and are who they are. We act like they don't have a history. We act like they don't have, and I don't want to use the T word, so I'm gonna just say evidence that will kind of surmise what you're seeing now if we go back through their history. You know what I'm saying? I say a lot of times when I see guys who have negative things to say about Black women, and I don't even want to say negative, but I'm just saying it so people understand what I mean. I say all the time, okay, I hear you, right? But why are you making it seem like it's just the girls in the street? Why are you making it seem like it's just the girls on the internet? Why not be honest and say it was your mama too? Why not be honest and say it was your aunties and your sisters? Because you didn't turn 18, date a couple of girls, and now you hate Black women. It's some deep rooted stuff going on right there from your history. And so and another thing I'll say this, what I don't like is that, because I need to ask you a question too, to the host, but I'm gonna say this real quick before I ask it. Why is it every time anybody has criticism of Black women, it's deemed bashing? Like, you can't say anything about Black women. And I'm gonna say the reason why I'm really saying that specifically is because I'm only aware of a couple of the tweets that the guy said. I don't see bashing. I don't see attacking. Now, maybe I'm just looking through my empathetic eyes, and what I'm seeing is this dude had some trouble with Black women in his life. Something happened parentally, you know what I'm saying? Who knows? Or programming, that's also happening. We can't pretend like that does not happen, whether it's in the media or at home. Also behavior, lived experience. I mean, you don't just wake up a 16. I think his brother said he was 16 when he posted those tweets. You don't just wake up one day 16 and be like, you know what? I don't like Black women, and I want to say this stuff about Black women. No, I'm having experiences that is putting me in the mindset to say the things that I'm saying. So that's why I want to ask you. Is Shez?
Shay Sade.
Oh, Shay. Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry about that.
No worries.
Shay, like, if you just had to say what was the worst or the worst tweets that this guy had, because I only know of a couple of them. And the worst one that I seen was Black women born knowing how to shake their ass. Oh, okay, that's derogatory. You know what I mean? But it also sounds immature. You see what I'm saying? They don't sound like somebody that we need to discard. So what was the worst, this worst thing that he said that makes him invaluable, unredeemable, unprotectable?
Right. So, okay, real quick, I will answer that, but I do want to acknowledge, I know these super chats came in a while back, so I want to make sure I acknowledge it. Thank you, Steven, for the 5 on the super chat. I see great topic, excellent panel as always. I do appreciate you guys. If you're on here, get those likes up, tag anybody, share this with someone that you think may find it interesting. I do see a few of the people saying they want to drop the link. Okay, guys, if you want me to drop the link and add some more callers in here, feel free to add some super chats. I'll need some more super chats. It's been pretty quiet. I was planning on wrapping up after these callers, but if you guys would like me to continue,
Chase, pay up.
After, yes, send through some super chats, and then I will consider dropping the link again. But right now we got a pretty good panel. So I think there was another super chat. I thought there was, or maybe I got it. Was it Dapper Jets? I know he's been showing some love. That's why he's sponsor of the week. Okay, it was this one. Yep, I was right. Dapper Gents, like I said, he's a Dapper James, if you want to call in, you can call in. It says it doesn't matter if he was 16 or 65. The Bible says, "So a man thinketh so is he. The woman he chose is proof." I do appreciate the support. Again, I got another 5 from the from Dapper James. I appreciate it.
Can I respond to that too?
Drop the link and get some more of y'all in here. Send through some support, and I will be happy to drop some more so I can get another round of you guys in. But so to answer your question, so I've spoken to this before. We're generally speaking, this is my theory that I think, and I guess post-feminist era, if you will, or in a feminist era, it's not so common to critique women. That's not really, that's just not okay. It's just not okay. It's not generally acceptable because the media we know is very centered towards women, movies, commercials, advertising, it's centered towards women. So I think we exist in that culture in general where it is not really common or acceptable for you to openly and criticize the things that women do. With that I think is also inherent within the Black community. I think even more so, as we live in at least in the Black American culture, it's very much a matriarchal setup. And there's reasons for this, right? I don't think it was just necessarily birthed that way. There's systematic reasons for this, but nevertheless, in a matriarchal setup, it's like you just don't talk about mama. You just don't do it. That's just like off limits. And so I think that's it's just built in, not only just from just the mainstream culture, if you will, but I think that's reiterated in a culture where it's very gynocentric, centric, for lack of a better term. And so I think that's why people see how it's fair game when it comes to criticizing men, period, especially criticizing Black men. There's money to be made off of that. But when it comes to women, that's different. Now, to me, there is a big difference between having constructive criticism and then just being downright disrespectful. There is a big difference. And that's something, I talk to women about this. I talk to women where I say, you know what? If you have issues with men, I actually did this, I think like a week or two ago. I was like, hey, ladies, if you have issues with men, in an era of online dating, don't put all your business out there on social media. Don't go tweet and say all men are trash, men suck, Black men are just dusties. Like, don't do that, because again, in an era of social media where people are dating and mating, primarily they're starting online. That is bad optics. That's just bad. And let's say you do meet somebody online in a dating platform. 9 times out of 10, a person's going to see you on social media and see, oh, what did they say? How do they look? Like, what are they into, to get a sense of who they are? And if they go and see that 2 months ago, you did a tweet that said men are trash, because maybe the backstory was you broke up with somebody, he found out he was cheating on you or whatever. Either way, that makes you look bad. So I tell women this all the time. It's like, yes, we all have bad experiences. I'm sure we could all on the line talk about the bad experiences we had from other, men or women in our community. I'm sure we could all sit down here and do it. But at the end of the day, the way we conduct ourselves, especially in an era of social media where what we say is essentially recorded forever, we just have to move with, we got to move smart. We got to do smart. And I talk to a woman about this. So like I said, even if a man or a woman had a bad experience with somebody in the ethnic group, yeah, I'm sure there's reasons for that. But not for me to now say, okay, now Black men are ignorant. Oh, okay, now Black men are, they just disgrace themselves all the time on television. Oh, these Black men in my government class, just fill in the blank. I'm now putting this online for everybody to see. I'm branding myself, whether or not that was even my intention, whether or not I meant it, or it was just a moment of emotion. I am still branding myself, period. And so this is something that I've told to women, where it's like, in an age of social media, an age of digital marketing, digital platforms where people are dating and they're meeting online and judging themselves based upon what they see online first, you probably should learn how to have, at the very least, a clean image, so you don't undermine any opportunities of success moving forward, or create intentions that you don't mean. Because for all we know, this could be a great guy who loves Black women, loves the Black community. Unfortunately, we'll never know, because of he's no longer with us. And now all we have are all these tweets that people could be taking out of context, but nevertheless, they're there. And we don't see anything else that would suggest that he's, thinks otherwise. And that's the the danger side of social media. So like I said, I tell this to women all the time. I just did it, but I think this does apply to men, and I think this might be a prime example as to why. So that's my answer. I don't know if any of you guys have anything you want to
I
add.
actually wanted to speak to that too.
Me too.
So first, the elite men that still run shit, white men, excuse me, they don't actually believe that women are morally superior to men, but women spend more money than men. So let's get this correct. Men still make
Facts.
more than women, but women spend more money than men. And
Facts.
so our entire society, post second wave feminism, because women spend more money than men, is dedicated to keeping women spending, and in keeping women watching those soap operas, and in keeping women emotionally titillated, right? And psychologically titillated. So now that marketing and money and corporate sharks are understand how empowering women or pretending like you actually care about their issues is lucrative, they're going to continue to do that. So what that does to women is now women actually believe that they're morally superior to men. So to answer your question in a long ass roundabout way, because this is what I do, women truly believe that they're morally superior to us. So when they critique us, it's legitimate, right? And it comes from anecdotal evidence, and it comes from supposed facts in history and such and so forth. When we critique them, we're critiquing them because we're sexist, homophobic, wannabe patriarchal pigs, right? So that's the fun. And women truly believe this. Not all, maybe not, well, actually, yes, most, but not all. Right. So that's the fundamental difference. So and if you want to break it down to the black community, black men don't actually want freedom and justice. Black men want to be white men. Black women want freedom and justice. Right. So that's how these things are marketed. And so that's why when we critique them, they see it as, oh, you're just a sexist pig who wants to go back to the 1950s and blah, 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 blah. And when they critique us, no, I'm critiquing you because you're a sexist, homophobic pig who wants to go back to the 1950s. And I'll pause right there.
Hey, can we address how the Toby and his tweets and the critique and how they might be either perceived as critique or insults? There's a way in order to critique people and then give them constructive criticism, like you're talking about, Shay, without making it sound like a personal attack. That's probably where I think the lion, I want to say, or Leon. That's kind of the issue here, is that the way he was couch those tweets and all the stuff that he was saying, it seemed like a direct personal attack versus an actual constructive set of criticisms. The other thing too is you got to look at how he was living presently. So people are linking to how he was living presently, the negative things that he was saying that he accepted in a woman who was not black, but was literally criticizing from people from his own race. And I'll go ahead and pause right there.
You know what people aren't adding into this equation? They were in Miami. Like Miami is so interracial. I mean, it's a lot of black men with other race women down there. Like, it's a thing. That's what I'm saying. Like,
I'm in Miami. It's a yes and no on that one.
Okay, if you say so. I mean, everybody's experience is anecdotal. That would include mine, right? But I'm just saying, from celebrities to guys I know that frequent, because I don't fly, so I don't go to a lot of places, but the guys I know that frequent Miami's and Californias, like, bro, like, it's a lot of interest. I ain't talking about marriage, but I'm just saying, like, people get together. You know what I'm saying? And it's a programming thing. Not to mention, it's still, we can't pretend like culture don't matter, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, at my job, there's black women and there's Mexican women and there's white women, and you can see a difference. So that I won't have to be attacked, I'm not even going to point out what the differences are. I'm just saying you can see it. It's visual. So I don't understand. Like my question was, okay, I asked one question to the host. I'll just ask this question to the panel. Take out the tweet about, babies being born known how to twerk. Tell me where he lied.
And my thing in all,
and I'm not defending the tweets. I'm just saying, tell me where he lied. I really want somebody to tell me where he lied, please.
Yeah, my thing in all of this is it was the voice of a 16-year-old.
Facts.
And if we're doing this where we're going to put we already do this to black boys. Okay. Mm-hmm. We do this all the time. But if we're going to put the weight of the world on a 16-year-old and say, you know what? what you did there, that's what you are, and that's what you forever shall be. That's ridiculous.
Well, brother, you know what the issue is? What black people, and this is why I said, if you're a fish, do you know you're swimming? Black people find just interesting ways of coming to anti-blackness. We're just not saying that's what it is. We're not couching it as that, but it is that. And what you're saying is 100% correct. It is black people backsliding into anti-blackness through, well, I feel angry and bitter because Negroes like that weren't checking for me when I was 16. So obviously they were checking for the white girls when they were 16. And look at this tweet when he was 16. So years later, when this unfortunate event happens to him, we're going to bury him with that, right? And I want black people to be very careful how you tiptoe into allowing the dominant society to use these same excuses against you, because that's what's going to happen. It sounds cute now because it's not your nephew, or it's not your niece. That's why I'm very careful on how I even my critique of the Swirler divestment shit. I'm very careful of it because it's not one of my family members or my relatives, but it could easily be one of them, right? And I don't think people think of it that way. It's always easy to throw fire on somebody else. You know, we're being really, really reckless and immature in how we're talking about this interracial relationship shit. It's really retarded. I'll pause. Go ahead.
Let me say this real quick, if I may, about the interracial relationships. I mentioned this at the beginning of the panel that I have no issues with that. I mean, I'm in the Bay Area. I see literally any and every kind of relationship, all kinds of genders, races, everything in between. So it's like I literally, it's not like, oh, he was with a white one. Like, no issue there. I think again, at least what I'm seeing as far as being the negative reaction, it's the optics of everything. It's the way everything appears. And unfortunately, with him not being here to give his perspective, no, I don't think he should be judged based upon things that he did when he was a high schooler. I'm sure nobody would want to do that because we've all done things that we look back and say, man, I regret that, because people do change and evolve. So I don't think you should be judged based on, what you did as a kid. What's unfortunate is now he's no longer here. People are now trying to piece together, who was he? What's been done? And all they have is the optics. All they have is what they see. And what they see, unfortunately, isn't necessarily creating a case to show that there has been, this huge turnaround. We'll never really know. We'll never really know, because like I said, he's not here to give his own perspective. And again, that goes back to my bigger point, is this is how it can be really dangerous if we do move and operate and just are not aware of the different dynamics that are at play when we are dating and mating, whether it's someone within our ethnic group or somebody outside of our ethnic group, because these kinds of situations do happen. So,
but Shay, from the response that you gave to the question I asked you at first, right? It sounded like you would agree with this statement, that if this situation was reversed and Toby was a black woman and some tweets resurfaced about her saying something about black men, that she would not be getting this much backlash, and it would all be about what happened to her and the justice that needs to.
No, these brothers would still give her smoke.
Yeah, she would. No, she would have smoke.
She definitely gets smoke. Lauren Smith Fields is a testament to that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's going to depend upon, the space. Like I said, we can all go into spaces where it's all going to be the female or the male perspective. Like there are silos and there are, those niche groups online. But yeah, no, she was. I agree.
So are we considering Cardi B? I'm sorry. Are we considering Cardi B a black woman?
I don't know what Cardi B has to do with the.
Well, the reason why I asked that is because I remember not too long ago she was talking about how she used to drug men, and have them robbed, and it didn't affect her career at all. I didn't see any media coverage. You know what I'm saying? Saying we need to counsel her. She needs to be whatever.
That's a different subject, and that's white money backing Cardi B.
Yeah, I agree. It's a different subject. I completely agree with what Mr. Dean effect said.
I was just making a point about the gender. That's all. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, and I mentioned that before, where I was like because as I don't know if you would catch that part, but some of their friends, the friends who knew both, knew their relationship or were close to them said that they had multiple times seen her hitting him and him not hitting her back. Now, we don't know what was happening behind closed doors, but that was going back to my earlier point where it's just like, hey guys, again, when we talk about domestic violence and just period, all across the board, all ethnic groups or makeups, intraracial or interracial, it's like women are more violent than we want to think when we actually look at the numbers. And I was like, here's a prime example of we're seeing a woman who was hitting a man and nobody was really tripping over it because we've kind of been we're used to it. We usually say, oh, well, he deserved it, so it's not a big deal. So I mentioned that earlier where it's like, yeah, there were red signs up to this point or red flags up to this point. And again, you guys, we can't believe that woman also cannot be violent because that's just not true.
Thank you so much for saying that. For real.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And to kind of piggyback off that a little bit too, just anecdotally at least, and the meetings I've attended with my men's group and whatnot, there are a lot of men out here who are being abused in terms of emotional and mental, and sometimes physical as well. But a lot of it is like if I come out and say, "Hey, brother, it sounds like you being abused." Oh, hell no, I ain't abused. I ain't this, that, third. But if are you being gaslit? Are they putting hands on you? Like, are they minimizing you? It's like, yes. You checking off the boxes. Like, and is this a pattern of behavior? Yes. So it's one of those things like we as men kind of tend to think like, oh no, it's some other dudes or whatever. Like that's we don't get abused, but we very much do. And kind of to go to the social media thing as well. Like I'm sorry, but we live in a day and age where we have to be very cognizant of the image we put out. One of the first things I learned when I got out into the real world after I wrapped up my internship, working with my mentor, when we were looking through applicants, first thing he did for the radio station, after we interviewed them, he pulled up their Facebook. And very much the comments that you make flippantly, they can have long-term consequences. They can follow you. And you have to be cognizant of the image you put out. And just kind of to piggyback off of that as well, with certain subject matter and content, you can portray your hurts and display certain things through that. Because like, how many of us have been on Hinge or Tinder, no hookups? Well, you would jump off, Judy.
Hysterical.
I mean, it's facts. Because real talk, if you don't have that problem, you don't need to display it. But that's obviously something that's hurt you and burned you in the past to the point where, you know, even now, it's probably still a thing for you. It's just a guy has to, quote unquote, act like I'm interested.
I'm just going to ask you if you meant pun intended with that burn you thing.
Yeah. So, and I viewed it kind of some of the same way. I believe one of the brothers was saying like, yo, there's probably some issues at home with some of the women in their life that they came up with. I agree with that.
Yeah, like, that's what I was talking about. If we're at a point where people are literally openly denigrating their own group, we have to get to the root cause and why they're at that point. It's for me, it's not enough to just just say something bad about somebody and write them off. It's like, how did we get here? So that we can look at. I
can answer that in a few questions
and then work on it, especially at a younger age, so people can come out of that before it becomes a problem and they actually start internalizing that to the point where there's no return. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I think you make some great points to where it's like nobody just wakes up one day and it's just like, oh, I just hate who I am and how I look and the people that I come from. Like, that's not. There's a process of getting there, and everybody's process is different. Everybody's initiation, if you will, is different. But nevertheless, it's like it would be important to understand that big situation, or maybe those minor, small situations, or things that are said, or things that are mentioned, or done, or portrayed that lead to one coming to that conclusion about essentially who they are. So,
I mean, I said this before. You integrated a bunch of Black people into anti-Black society. What did you think was going to happen 30, 40, 50 years later, right? If you listen to hurt, bitter Black people, especially the ones that get their little heart broken and they feel rejected since they were in middle school and who they wanted didn't want them, blah, 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 right? These people are we brothers and sisters in this space that are in their late 30s, early 40s, sounding like hurt, scarred 14-year-olds. They're still holding on to that hurt. And so they start to regurgitate very, very racist ideas about other Black people, whether it's among skin tone line, whether it's among class, whether it's a gender divide or sexual orientation divide. That's Black people who grew up in an anti-Black society, and all it took was one or two things to set them off. So yes, what the brother was saying, yeah, they might have grew up in a home where their mother might have had situations, right? And now they're adult, they're saying things, or their father or whatever. They might have mommy and daddy issues, but oftentimes it's not even that. A lot of this is childhood trauma. And this brother is a prime example of that, 16 years old, saying these type of things, right? So
yeah,
like
but he
a
wasn't
lot
saying this as an adult.
No, well, that's the thing. Oftentimes, it's you don't say it, you act it out, right?
How is he acting it out?
I would say who he was with, and
come on.
you know what I'm saying. I mean, if you follow the line, this is the thing.
Yeah.
This is the thing, right? And let's be honest, because I know where you're going, and I agree with you. I don't understand what I'm saying. I agree with you, but like Shay said, the optics don't look good because if you say that, then you're with a non-Black person now, because we don't have a chance to talk to you to see if you evolved or not. It doesn't look like you evolved out of that. I'm not saying he didn't.
Yeah,
I'm
it
saying
actually
the optics
does
of
look
it
like he
doesn't.
evolved.
You know,
I
go
strongly
ahead.
urge you to listen to the live stream from Sinful to P, where he had members of his church come on and talk on his behalf. Black church.
Okay, I will do that.
And Sinful to P, I love that example. The P, that man. People
Yes,
are
I can explain
redeemable.
that, Tara.
People are redeemable.
I don't think that. I'm not saying that he's not. Please understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying he's not, and I'm not saying that he might not have evolved, or even that original tweet came from a super malicious place. I'm not even going there with it. I'm saying from the optics, from the outside looking in.
Exactly.
That tweet to what happened doesn't look good. That's it. That's all I'm saying.
Hold on, bro. The optics that you are talking about, and that anybody else would agree with you on. That's the optics that you're choosing to look at, because you know what you're choosing to ignore, that he made those tweets at 16, but he didn't make them at 27. That shows the maturity. That shows the change, that he wasn't putting it out online anymore. And whatever emotional stuff he get on, he was just letting it all out when he was a teenager. He wasn't doing that anymore as an adult. That shows growth. You literally just sat here and condescended people who whine about what's going on in their lives all the time, all on social media. Guess what? He wasn't doing that anymore. There's your growth. Why isn't anybody talking about that?
Hey, you know where I'm gonna go with this, right?
Demean him with. That's why you're not talking about it.
No. Because I'm not getting at the brother. I don't think y'all understand it's not really devil's advocate I'm doing. I'm asking you to see where these people are coming from, because I understand where you guys are coming from. I'm not about necessarily burying people for something they said 12 years ago or 11 years ago when they were a child.
Right.
That's not what I'm about. I'm asking you to see, because people are not going to do the research and find out. They're not going to go check out the video the brother was just telling me to check out. And they're not going to look and see, oh, he was 27 years old now and he wasn't making those tweets. No, what the line is, he said that when he was 16, he was with a white girl, she killed him. Well, he deserved it. That's the beginning and the end, right? So like, I know where you guys are coming from and I agree with you. Right, but think about a random sister, because it's really sisters on this shit. A random sister. Oh, he said that when he was 16, and a white girl killed him. Well, oh well.
That's what I'm
best
saying.
You get apathy, and at worst you get well. He deserved it.
I said that at the last live. I said that I'm consistent.
I'm agreeing with you. No, you're right. You're right. Mm-hmm.
I'm just.
It's tragic, and that's why I think
we have the people.
We have to be careful with how we. Go ahead.
I get what you're saying, right? But what I'm saying is, right now, with 100 some people watching on a nice platform, you know what I mean, with a panel, like we have an opportunity to speak more clearly. We have an opportunity to give logical take on the situation. We don't have to regurgitate the madness or the ignorance or the people that don't want to do as much research, or surface thinkers. You know what I'm saying? Who will just take what was put right in front of them and run with that, and don't do any deep thinking into it. The majority of society are surface thinkers, brother. They are, but we don't have to be. We have an opportunity right now to
this
say,
is what I'm
listen,
saying.
For the people who are choosing to be surface thinkers, why don't you think of this? Why don't you consider this?
No, I agree with you. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah. That we have an opportunity to do. Matter of fact, I wouldn't even just say an opportunity. I said we have a directive. to be a more logical, sound voice, rational, empathetic. Like, I ain't gonna lie, I felt it was kind of condescending, the tone that you took when you was talking about people who are older and who still complain about stuff. Like, bro, trauma is real.
No,
Like,
trauma
you know
is wait. If you're gonna go there, then let's address this. It's not
Right.
that trauma isn't real. You're 100% right. Understand what we now have in this current society. We have cathedrals worshiping the trauma. And then now we're giving out edicts to how to deal with the trauma, and often it's anti-black stuff. When you see a brother or a sister who have a channel with 20, 30, 40, 50,000 subscribers, 200,000 subscribers, 300,000 subscribers. By the way, we got people with that many subscribers, and all they do online is denigrate other black people and find weird and interesting ways of denigrating other black people. That's not just trauma anymore. You're trauma bonding, and now you damn dare have disciples, because this is what happens, right? Even in Shay Shardae's channel right now in her comments are disciples of all the female divestors. Well, y'all didn't give this sympathy to Lauren Smith Fields. Well, what's the smoke for this dude? That's not just trauma anymore, right? So that's spreading out into the real world. And then what ends up happening? Some of these sisters and brothers end up in these exact same situations because of the naivete. I'm not saying this brother is in that situation, but people end up in that exact same situation because those disciples tell them, oh, you had one issue with a black man, go date a white man. You had one issue with a sister, go date a Latina, a white girl. And the Latina and that white girl take that person for granted, do something like this, and then we're back having this conversation. Go ahead.
Right. So let me ask you this question then. So for all of those decades where the media had women like Oprah and Sally Jesse Raphael and Jenny Jones and Ricky Lake and all of these women who got on TV and just said it ain't no good men and talked about how bad men was that trauma bonding?
Brother, you might not know I have a channel. I think you think I'm on the other side.
No, I
don't. I agree with you,
bro. Listen,
I agree with you.
Do me one favor. Do me one favor.
No, I agree with
you.
Favor.
Right. If I ask you a question, just give me an answer. Because don't.
No, I said yes. No, I said I agree with you. But
mess up the conversation.
No. I agree.
If I may,
it's just a yes or no. Was that trauma bonding?
That was trauma bonding, and you know it. That was trauma bonding. The reason why I said, and I prefaced my statement, I didn't give you a direct answer immediately because I think you might think I'm on the wrong side. Maybe you should check out my channel. And Shay has had me on here before. You can ask her, but you could ask her. You can ask other people who've heard me speak, brother.
I will check it out. I will subscribe to you right now, bro. I subscribe to everybody, bro, because I want everybody to win. But but the reason why I asked you,
that was trauma bonding. To answer your question directly, yes, that was trauma bonding.
Thank you. And the reason why I answered that question is not in an examination of you. It's just because I want the viewers and everybody else who's going to ever watch this to realize that, because we didn't call that trauma bonding when they were doing it. It's only when the man has something to say about woman that it gets all of these negative titles. I get what you're saying, but I don't see okay, I'll give you an example. And it's just to show you how fair I am. When I'm on social media and I see women posting about how bad men are and all the things that men do, bro, I never, ever, 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 ever go on those posts and say, you're wrong, you're lying. I never gaslight them. You know what? Because even if they are suggesting like it's all men, I'm not about to argue all or not all. I know I'm mature enough to know nobody knows all. So I know you're not speaking for all, right? But even if you're suggesting that it's a majority, guess what? I'm not going to gaslight you. I'm not going to argue with that. You went through something, and that matters more to me. I made a post on social media one time where I asked the women, I said, take money off the table. What are black men doing wrong? And every black woman that came on that post and listed all of these things that black men were doing wrong, from being abusive and controlling and manipulative and lying and deadbeat dads and all of that. Every single comment I went to and I said, thank you for your candor. Because guess what? Their anecdotal experiences matter. Every anecdotal experience matters to the collective. So when we have these men that are out here saying whatever you want to say, they saying about women, my question to you, and I asked this question of the brother's tweets, and nobody responded. Did he lie?
I think he did. But here's and I'll say this. I'll say this, if I may. If you've listened to my content for any length of time, you know that I will go after things that I see within the community that I find destructive. So whether that is Black women going online and making blatant things about Black men that, yes, are because of their trauma, but at the end of the day, it's still bad and toxic, I will address it, period. For me, the issue is this. For example, do we have a community where, let's say, a Chinese woman can go online and bash Chinese men and say Chinese men are dusties and they are all nerds and they are trash fathers and husbands, and the community go and say, oh, well, okay, well, this is her experience. This is her experience. And we overlook it. It's like, no, if that happened, there would be consequences. Same with the Jewish community. Same with the Hispanic community. Like there's somewhat of like a check and balance that other communities have where they still have their issues. Oh, best believe. Right. But there is a code of conduct, or there's a way that they act in such a way that it doesn't start to undermine themselves. And what I'm saying, my only response, again, this is when I was speaking to women about a week or two ago. You can check it out. When I was saying, hey, women can't stop talking or they complain too much, something like that. And I was saying, listen, no one is saying that your experiences, whether it's with Black men or men in general, is not valid. They absolutely are. I am 100% proponent of dealing with your trauma. I would say you need to first have, seek out a spiritual connection with God. I talk about that a lot, my relationship with God and being a Christ follower, what that means to me. I'm all about that. I'm all about getting therapy, do 12 steps, get mentorship, do whatever you need to do to deal with the trauma constructively. What I hear Mr. Z saying is that going online and putting out this stuff out there, why it may feel good and you can get some validation with it because we do live in a system where we are judged by the way that we look and appear online. That trauma bonding online, it's just not constructive. So we're not saying a man can't say these things. I'm not saying a woman can't say these things. I'm saying it needs to be done in a way that is constructive. If you really do hate Black men, if you really do hate Black women and their experiences that have led to that point, go deal with it in a manner that is constructive. Do it with a therapist, do it all those other things. We can go back to Oprah Winfrey and all those different things. Did people call that trauma bonding? No. Was it trauma bonding? Absolutely yes. Was it constructive? No, it was bad. And this is precisely why we're in the place that we are today. Because I think things like that went unchecked. So that's all I'm saying. I would never say a man cannot express his opinion. If that's his truth, that's his truth. Same with a woman. But I'm like, I don't think it's good to promote self-hate. And if you really are self-hating, then it's like, go deal with that and do it in a way that's going to be constructive and not going to not only put a mark on yourself, but now also start to make the community look bad. Then now the community, now you're putting yourself in a position, as Mr. Z alluded to, where it's like, God forbid something then happens. Now you're going to have a good aspect of them where it's just like, I don't feel like I have to be a part of you. Some of them will be like, you know what? Yeah, you made a mistake. Some of them will be more mindful or be more empathetic, but some of them won't. And that's not because of us. That's because just, how it works. So
and it's something I want to say to your brother. You're way nicer than I am because you actually lend us a sympathetic ear to this particular rhetoric. And I used to do it also. Until I realized the actual issue that a lot of Black people have is that they're not white people. There, I said it. You want the accoutrement of white people. And most of Black people's issues, yes, your daddy was an ish. Yes, your mama was an ish. Yeah, this girl in high school made fun of you. Yeah, this dude in high school made fun of you because of your dark skin or your broad nose. But that really ain't the issue. The issue is that now you work with Karen, and Karen just pulled up in that new E-class, and you don't even got a boyfriend. That's the issue. The issue is that Brad, because he's white and he's 6'2", he could pipe every girl in the office, and he has piped every girl in the office, even Keisha, and you bitter and angry because you're a regular brother and you only make $35,000 a year. The real issue Black people got really is that they're not white people in a white society, and now they're rubbing elbows with a bunch of non-Black people that seem to, emphasis on the word seem to, be doing better than them. And everything else are all they're all other issues. But the primary issue that I've seen with Black people is that they're not Black, and that they're Black, they're not white, and that they don't get the accoutrement that come from what white people did on this planet. Everything else, all the other stuff that Black, because we brought up Oprah. Oprah was bringing on, and Sally Raphael and these other people were bringing on sisters that had a couple of degrees, they made a few dollars, and their issue, they were arguing a race issue that was really a class issue. They thought their education was going to make them white. And what they were finding is that they were working in these offices and they were working white collar jobs, and there were either no black men around them, a handful of black men around them that were with white women. They ignored all the other black men that were with black women, and the white dudes and the Latino dudes were not checking for them. That was the real issue they had. But they kept on making it seem like, oh, these black men are not on our level. No, all the dudes that were on your level were already married. The handful of them with white women were the ones y'all focused on, and you couldn't pull a white dude. That's why they were on those type of channels. I'll shut up now.
But listen, even if I concede to your and Shay's point about the trauma bonding and how destructive it can be, you have to also take into account why these platforms even exist. You're talking about a demographic of people who have basically been voiceless for centuries. And now they finally have a platform where they can get things out, and it's just all coming out. You know what I'm saying? It's just like everything, man. We can finally talk. We finally have a space. I know I was on Facebook for years talking about my issues with the Black community and matriarchy specifically. And I had homies that used to hit me in my inbox and be like, bro, this ain't the platform for that. You need to go to the YouTube space, because on YouTube, you're going to attract and you're going to be able to communicate with way more people who understand where you're coming from.
Yep, that's
way
facts.
more voiceless people who will appreciate what you have to say versus you posting on Facebook with your friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, your friends don't want to hear about this. So,
and they look at you like you crazy.
Exactly, especially when they don't have the same experiences, bro. Like, I talk about the issues that I had with my mom growing up, bro. And I'm not even gonna talk about that right now, but I'm just saying, imagine your mom is a dope fiend, or you see your mom have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 men, or she's never really around. You know what I'm saying? Like, we talk about the effects of absentee fathers, but we don't usually talk about the effects of toxic mothering. And so when you see these guys that have this disdain for, bro, let's just be honest. And I'm not trying to be racist. Black women are fine, bro. Like, in real whole life, the baddest Black woman on the planet is the baddest woman on the planet. When
Facts.
a Black woman looks good, it's not pretty much that's going to affect you the same way. It's something spiritual, sensual. It gets into your nerve system, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? In your stomach, you're like, man, this woman is fine, just from the way the color change in their feet and their hands. And I mean, everything about a Black woman is beautiful visually. So if you have an issue with them, it's not going to be that. It's going to be behavioral. It's going to be behavioral. So you have to consider that. This man never said Black women are ugly. He always talked about their behavior. And that's what I'm saying. That's why I said, did he lie? Where's the lie? You see what I'm saying? He said, oh man, these Black girls, the way I'm tired of these Black girls in my government class. Well, guess what? They probably was doing something. Why are you assuming that, you know what I'm saying, they weren't doing something?
I mean, you know what, to actually offer you some olive branch. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm saying he did make reference to their looks when he compared their breasts, and he said, well, they're just not my type. Like, there are some when he made reference to their looks. Like I said, I mean, we can go back and forth about, at the end of the day, he made those tweets. He was a young kid, really. So like I said, for me, I'm not one to just sit here and just say this person was all bad. Even Lauren Smith Wills. I mean, some of her tweets were more recent, and I'm like, yeah, I think that was maybe that was done in bad taste. I don't agree, but at the end of the day, do I think that person deserved to die early, or she has no value? It's like, no. So I think the same thing for him. Do I agree with the tweets? No, absolutely not. Was there probably some trauma and stuff that happened to bring him to that point? Absolutely. My bigger picture, again, going back to, if you decide to date and marry somebody outside of their race, fine. Don't think that the issues that you had just discussed about, well, you know, if a mother was a dope fiend or the attitude or whatever, you can go and find those exact same issues with white skin. Best believe. I know
for sure.
some struggle Becky's.
Right.
Hey, so that was my bigger point.
Hey, Shay, I live in Kentucky, so you already know.
Exactly.
Can I interject? That was
All he had to say was, "I live in Kentucky."
Right. So you know, I see it. You know, I
Can
see
I
it for
interject,
sure.
family?
Oh, God bless you.
Yeah. Can I interject? Right quick. Can I interject?
Yeah, go on, JoJo.
All right. So when I'm listening, right? I said, let me go back up in here right quick because I was listening, right? And I can't get it twisted. I'm gonna just say this right here because see, the focus is this is a brother that put down our women. You know, period. That I got to keep the focus on that, and I got to keep the focus on he made his decision and his action. Somebody said that he was on Fresh and Fit podcast too, and
I saw that comment.
We know that them folks openly got disdain for black women. Period.
Mhm.
So I got to be mindful on what I jump behind. You know, because see, I'm not. Look here. The brother made his decision. He made his choice. That's what he wanted to do. That's where he wanted to go. Then the people that's down with that, if there are people that are down with that, you need to be at the forefront screaming and supporting him. You need to be all out in the street. Just don't ask me. Just don't ask me. You know what I'm saying? Because see, I'm on code ASAP. Like, there ain't no way to get me off code at this point. There's so much going on in this society. I'm holding on to dear life for the code of my people that support my people. You feel me? Like, this is something that I live. I can't be telling you that I'm not down with you and I hate your kind, my own kind, and then I'm with somebody of the other race, the open enemy, speaking anti-black rhetoric, man. I got to be careful, man. Look here.
You know, let me add to that. As a child of black immigrants, I was born and raised here. I'm 35, going to be 36 years old. Let me talk to all my young brothers who are also children of immigrants and my young sisters. Y'all got to be careful how y'all come in. Because what I'm noticing is a sizable chunk of divestors, men and women, are children of immigrants. And what it really is a culture clash. And then you go run white. And then you end up in these weird ass situations because let's be honest, your parents raised you to be anti-black as shit. And a lot of brothers and sisters that are either immigrants that come here with no spouse or children of immigrants, y'all think that white is better. And y'all be ending up, and I know because I've seen it with my own eyes, y'all be ending up in these toxic ass relationships with non-black people, and now you stuck.
Yeah.
Right. So as a child of immigrants, I'm gonna tell y'all got to be careful. And if when you get old enough, you need to tell your parents go sit their ass down somewhere. They don't know what they talking about because I know I've been in them houses, not my parents, but I've been in those houses with these Jamaicans, Nigerians, Haitians, Guyanese, Eastern Africans. Right. I'm not making this up. Like really. And as children, I understand these are your parents. You don't want to disrespect them, blah, blah, blah. These are your aunts and uncles. You don't want to disrespect them. These are your grandparents. You don't want to disrespect them. But once you become an adult and you got your own shit, I know the hierarchy system in African culture. I understand. But y'all got to find a way to tell them to shut the hell up. Because a lot of the times why y'all be on this white shit, it's because you have a culture class with ADOS and you think that white shit gonna save you, and it's not. It's not. There's too many brothers I'm meeting that are African descent, and y'all fucking with these white girls, and these white girls be putting y'all through it. And I'll pause right there.
Hey, bro, put your link or your whatever how I can find you in the chat, please. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, but you know what's funny about the whole thing, Z, is that at the end of the day, if we ain't all riding for the same cause, right? Like you just said that, you know what I mean, where you came from and how you were raised, right? You know, and like I say, Shay can always vouch to this, man. Like I sent her my info. Man, look, my folks come back to post-slavery, man, when they ain't even, you know, before 1865. Like I got
pre-slavery, pre-slavery.
Yeah, like I can, yeah,
or during slavery.
Yeah, before slavery, pre-slavery. My bad, got that post-pre, all of it, man. We from here, man. We built it up. You hear me? I'm talking about built it up, man. And you think for a second that the same stuff that we're dealing with, things have not changed. We move as though things have changed, and we jump on every bandwagon but our own. It's time to start gatekeeping for our own, man. If you ain't trying to save the gate, if you ain't playing defense for the team, man, I'm sorry. You are on the opposite side, and that's how things are looking. Look, just like that Lawrence Smith Fields chick. This brother fell in that same boat. You see, didn't nobody really jump behind that.
Let me remind you of son too. What's the name of the sister that's with the dude from Dawson Creek? Goddamn, the sister, Queen of Slim.
Jody.
Jody Turner Smith. This is another sister of that like kind that I was talking about, right? British descent, from my understanding, by way of Africa, right? Piped him on the first night. Kept on having sex, got pregnant, then proposed to him. You see what I'm saying? Y'all looking at a lot of my brothers and sisters from the diaspora. When y'all come to America, or when y'all move to Britain or Canada, y'all look real desperate chasing after that white, and excuse my language, Shay, that white pussy and that white dick. Y'all look real desperate.
Oh, the language.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna stop. Okay, no, that white vagina and that white penis, right? Y'all be looking real desperate, and quite frankly, you know, it makes it real difficult for people to have sympathy for you and your family when you go through things. It's not that they shouldn't, because you're still a human being. And yes, you might have said something reckless when you were younger, maybe a decade plus ago. That is absolutely 100% true. And I'm not taking away from that at the end of the day, this could have happened to any Black person. And they didn't necessarily have to have negative tweets or comments for this to have happened to them, or even a negative ideology about other Black people. That's 100% true, because a lot of this is happening to Black people just because you're Black. What I'm saying is we're making this worse by the way we see ourselves and each other, and then the reasons why we end up in these interracial relationships. Because I will argue that most people of color, not just Black people, are in interracial relationships with with white people out of a sense of inferiority complex, because you're trying to climb up that ladder. And when y'all end up in these situations, well,
real quick, I want to make sure, I've had a few super chats come through. I want to make sure I acknowledge them before we move on. Shout out to Christopher B with the 20 on the super chat. Okay, so I see, been in Miami for 11 years. Latinos here consider themselves white, with you reflecting the Black subservient class they left in the developing countries. Not the perfect place to be Black in an interracial relationship during a police visit. I will say I've never actually been to Florida, but I have heard from other Black people who've been out there that they've experienced some racism, even in Miami.
Cubans be racist as hell. I'll say it, and I'll say it to their face. He's right.
I've heard that, and I've heard this because a lot of the Cubans who come over are from I guess they're from the elite.
Damn, they're neo-Nazis.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Yeah. So also shout out again to Dapper Gents with the 5 on the super chat. I see the Black woman biggest problem is Black men talk a good game, but we have not provided for her. Black men have become comfortable. Again,
oh my God, I'm so tired of these dudes, man.
Super chat. Hey, everyone has, like I said, right to their perspective. We don't have, not everybody here unanimously agrees. That's for sure.
Man, just tell them to go end up with Brad.
Again, shout out to Dapper Gents with the super chat. I see he chose a white woman with bad character. Sorry, I don't think it's growth. 16 and 27 means little because the caliber of woman that he chose. Again, I appreciate the support. Also, shout out to Deanie with the 5 on the super chat. I see. Thank you, Sade, for allowing such a diverse conversation. My pleasure. Like I said, I try to create a platform where, you know, we can be respectful and share our point of view, because I think sometimes you really can learn when you look at things through a different lens. Or at the very least, you can be entertained, if nothing else. And let me see. I think I got all. Okay, and then also shout out to the 18th letter with the $4.99. Super chat. You guys, again, if you would like to show support to the show, you can find me on Cash App, Irvin Moshe Sade. Also, super chats are open. This has been.
I will say this though, Shay. We look how much smoke we got for. Look, notice something. It's not just sisters. Look how we having a real conversation about this brother in his tweets. I wonder if you go on Swirler Divester channels, female Swirler Divester channels, do they have these type of conversations when a sister done said something crazy and then the white dude, you know, go knock her out or take her head off, maybe literally. Right, so you notice we're having a real conversation about this brother's past, I don't know if it's the same on the other side.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I definitely have some, some haters in the comments, and I've multiple times I've dropped the link, and they are quite active as far as wanting to share their perspective and all the things that they disagree with, but none of them want to call in. Don't you find that interesting? So quick to just.
Well, there's a level of maturity that we're trying to have with this, because we do want to have empathy for the incident, the situation, and what the family is going through. So we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater here. Now,
of course.
This is one of the things I'll say about this. So I've lived in a bunch of different countries. During my military career, I was all over the place and doing a bunch of different things. And one of the things that I learned that you had to do and be is on your best behavior. Now, I'm not, and so I kind of look at it like this. So if you or somebody coming in from another country and you don't really know the dynamics, you don't understand, all the nuances of the culture, then you have to literally attach yourself to people who are good people, who are doing good things, who really want to help you be successful, and just, navigate that culture, that system, or those dynamics in a way that's safe, but where you learn and develop and grow. And that's kind of where I'm seeing the disconnect, because like, for example, I kind of had the idea that when, somebody who's, an immigrant comes over, they kind of, they're not beneath us. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about, well, you don't really know how things work here. So latch yourself on the people who've been here, who've developed and grown up in this culture, who understand the nuances of it to the extent that you can actually, navigate this properly. So that way you don't get in trouble, but at the same time you develop and grow and become successful. And I'm not sure that we're seeing that with people that come in. You see what I'm saying? There's almost a disconnect between Black immigrants and the Black people who actually grew up here. And that's what kind of bothers me, because I look at it, if I went to anywhere in Africa, I'm going to link in with the people who actually live there, and I'm going to listen to them, and I'm going to inculcate myself with them and really be nice to them and work with them and say, hey, I'm following your lead. You tell me, and I'm really trusting them to help me out. So that way I don't get myself in trouble in their country.
But see, we're gonna keep it a buck. We got to keep it a buck. When most of those people come over here, man, they fleeing. You know what I'm saying? And then they're trying to, like Z was saying, they trying to climb up the ladder and get in good graces with the dominant society. One thing I know, and two things for certain, man, I got to remember that these people work on all facets. White supremacy clicks on all gears, man. Fact. And for us to even try to, they will always want us to try to goddamn get on code on some stuff that is irrelevant. I'm telling you, man, look, there are so many other people that deserve the energy of us and our support that are for the community. We can't save everybody, man. And it's like, people will shame you if you be like, well, I can't help that brother because of X, Y, and Z, and we shouldn't do that to each other, because for the simple fact, you got to look at our progress. Every time we get behind these people that mean us that really ain't for the community and stuff like that, we get bad results. We waste our time on people that don't want to invest in us. You know what I'm saying? We invest our time in people and places that we don't need to be doing, man. That's how we've been doing for years, like with the internet stuff and stuff like that. We got young folks that's tuning in and they listening, man, and they're trying to, be in tune with something and learn the patterns of life. But if we're not really giving them no food to grasp, they gonna be stuck on this Snapchat, IG crap, So let's be when we on social media, let's teach them about, a Black unity, man, in our community first, man. Everybody can get it with JoJo. I don't care if you a Black woman divester, Black man divester. At the end of the day, if you not on code with your people, do not expect me to be lifting my hands and praising and all this old stuff, because there are other people that have been out there in the field for real. I'm talking about in the trenches, protecting the Black community against white supremacy. That's all I gotta say. Hey man, I just had to tap back in. Y'all keep giving it to him, man. Shay, you got a good show going on. You done brought in about 3 wax, man. I need your bank account. Anyway.
For real. For research purposes.
Better you.
So
what was you about to say?
I know. Okay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Miss Shay. I'm sorry.
So I wanted to, because I know I've heard you know, the whole topic about some of this ideology being prevalent among Black immigrants. I don't, you know, I don't really have, I guess,
Can I,
numbers for that. I mean, I know, real quick, I know, at least from my
can I,
understanding, like remittances back to the continent are more than foreign aid. So we know there's a lot of Black immigrants who are supporting family in Africa, and Black immigrants are less likely to actually marry interracially, from what I understand. So I know that I know the self-hating ideology we can find among the diaspora, but I don't know that I believe that it's just coming from immigrants. We
Of course
certainly
not.
see that
can I
among
add some perspective to that?
Americans. I'm sorry.
I said, can I add some perspective to that? Because
Yeah.
that is
Who's speaking?
Better
oh,
you.
Dre from Better You. So, like a lot of times when we talk about Africa, we talk about Africa as a monolith, and a lot of times we kind of overlook the horrors of colonialism. So there is some of the same things present here, present there. It may look a little bit different, but for the most part, in terms of immigrants assimilating into Black American society, as long as immigrants don't have a mentality of superiority, so to speak, I've never seen any type of immigrant rejected. Like, I know Jamaicans, I know Trinidadians, I know Nigerians, I know Ghanans, and as long as they aren't on some, frankly, white supremacist ideology, like, we generally don't have a problem accepting them in. And I'll say this, like, they keep their own identity for the most part, at least here in the city that I'm in. But for the most part, like, they'll rock with you and they'll get in behind you as long as you talk something that makes sense. So I don't think it's this widespread. People from the diaspora, like people from the continent, hate Blackness. I think it's some of them who are kind of the squeaky wheel, so to speak. Who
Maybe, yeah.
yeah,
And I mean,
yeah.
the thing about it is this, bro. We like, I hate when, I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm not gonna try to dwell on this, but I hate when we have to use the not all argument, right? Because we know nothing that we say about any demographic is going to be all of them. But if you have, like, I remember on one of my panels, I had a chick that used to be on there, and she said one of the reasons why her family, which they were, I forget where they were from, they were some type of Haitian, Jamaican type people and African mix. But she said the reason why that they had, I'm trying to say it nicely, the reason why they kind of looked down on Black people is because they looked at it like, we come over here with nothing, and then first generation we build up something, you know what I'm saying? And y'all been here all this time and y'all still lazy.
Excuses.
And y'all still ain't, you know what I'm saying? Right. And so, like, it can't just be her. You know what I'm saying? It's most certainly not just her and her family. You know what I'm saying? So of course it's not all of them, but it's enough of them to where enough people have experienced it. I know I experienced it personally when I was going to Harold Washington College. I tried to link up with this one African cat from my philosophy of religion class, and he straight up told me, bro, when we come over here, they tell us not to really mingle with y'all.
You know, that's interesting because, you know, if we want to again go off of anecdotal experience, that has never once been my experience. All of the experience I've had, whether it's, you know, with Nigerian people from the continent, Cameroonians, Ethiopians, like I've never had. I've never seen whether it's the self-hating white is right. I never saw that mindset. And so when I started to kind of seeing that being portrayed as an immigrant thing, I actually thought it was interesting because I just was never anything that I actually had seen or experienced in my own personal life. I also want to share something I just was actually sent by a member. It says, actually, you know what? Okay, you guys can continue because I want to pull it up, but I need to download it first.
Can I? Okay, while you doing that, can I respond to Dapper Gent's comment? His super chat.
Yeah, sure. Shout out to Dapper Gent again with the super chat, real quick. I want to read it. It says, okay, it's the well-educated immigrants that love talking down to foundational Black Americans.
Right, and that's so crazy. Wow, that is so crazy. And ironic that he said that, because it's the well-educated Black men who love to talk down on average Black men. When you said the Black woman's biggest problem is the black men talk a good game, but we have not provided for her. Are you insane? How could that be the black woman's biggest problem? That doesn't even make any sense at all, bro. Because we
a fish don't know it's swimming, brother.
Say that again.
A fish don't know it's swimming. If you say your biggest problem is the black men who haven't provided in a white supremacist society, you're a fish that don't know you swimming.
Man, and I'm saying his name is Dapper Gents. He got a nice picture. I'm just gonna assume he's successful. No average man would have made a statement like that because his site isn't gonna be focused on money. You see what I'm saying? But he basically said the black woman's biggest problem is that black men don't have enough money. That's insane. When the average black man make 42K, the average white man make 52. The average Mexican man makes less than the average black man.
Brother,
and yet
I got
they
one better for
still
you.
married at a rate of 50, 60, and 70%. And yet they still together and producing kids and have dual parented households.
Don't fall for it, because the median income in America is $34,000 a year. Anybody that talk to you about this money thing don't know what they're talking about. Half of Americans make less than 34 grand a year. So whenever sisters start doing that whole stuff, or brothers that support them with this retarded ass language about the money issue or class issue, I just remind them once again, 40% of Americans can't afford a $400 emergency. 60% of Americans can't afford a $1,000 emergency. So y'all don't know what y'all talking about.
And
that's all you got to say.
Be married. And they still be married and raising their kids. You know what I'm saying? Like that ain't got nothing to do with it. The biggest problem that black women have is the same biggest problem that black men have. It's the way that we're being raised. Bro, I see people when they have the nurturing, loving, caring mother, and they have the present, disciplinary, structured father who can teach them something to do with their hands and how to be, you know what I'm saying, productive. And like I see people when they have that dynamic, bro, they turn out to be good people. All of the successful men that I know either had both their parents or they were in the military.
I see this as a twofold problem. So we have internal issues that we do need to resolve. That absolutely is a reality, and I think everybody can agree to that. The other issue is that we also have some external forces that are being applied unfairly to a specific racial group. We cannot get away from that, and that's probably the thing that irks me the most when I say people don't really understand the history, the dynamics, and just kind of being off code a bit. Is that yes, you have to deal with the individual and collective accountability and responsibility at this level, meaning that we have to deal with that as a group internally, but we also have to look at what's being applied externally that's really trying to keep us from being successful. And I hate that it always comes back to this for me, and I don't know how it is for everybody else, but it is ridiculous to me that black people have to work 5, 10, 15, 20 times harder than everybody else to get the same results. That's not fair. That's not a good system. We need to be working against that. We need to understand the system that we're working in, and then try to implement countermeasures to deal with that, because we're not going to get any help with that. It's very clear to me that everybody else who is non-black is fine with how things are. We got one specific group that's on the bottom. That's a permanent underclass. Everybody's fine with that. No one's fighting against it. We're the last line of defense, really. The only reason other groups don't get messed with as much is that we're still here. I can guarantee, and I had this conversation. I don't want to get I'll pause, but I had this conversation with somebody who was Asian, somebody who was Hispanic, and we were going back and forth on social media with this. And I said, look, the reason you guys don't get messed with as much is that we're still here and we take the brunt of this. I said, once we're gone, then you're next in the line. So that's how that's going to be. And his response to me was, well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Let me say this to the brother real quick. It's going to be short. It's going to be short. Here's a question for you. They just unionized the first Amazon warehouse. Yep. Do you remember who damn it, I already gave up the ghost. Who was the person who unionized it? Who's the face of it?
It was a black guy. It's a black
guy. Thank you. As a black guy named Chris Smalls. There you go. All this injustice in America, if it don't got a black face on it, if we ain't the ones fighting it, it ain't gonna get done. Period. It ain't gonna get done. Yeah. Chris Smalls is a testament to that, because them white people been trying and nobody gave a damn. It got to be a black person, a black man usually, but I digress right there.
Yeah, the difference is that nobody can actually do the stuff they used to do. Like, they can't literally round us up and come burning through towns anymore. So now it has to be creative. So you have to know what it is that's going on behind the scenes and what people are actually doing to try to destroy you. So you have to work against that. That's really what's going on. Now, I will never take away individual and personal accountability and collective responsibility and accountability from the group. We do have our things we need to work on, but I will never discount the external pressures that are being applied to us that everybody else doesn't have to get.
Thank you.
More than anything. And it is aggravating to me. So I can't get in a room with somebody who's not Black and then go through all of this and explain this to them, and then they will still try to tell you that their life is hard. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Your life is harder. Your life is hard. But you know what? I know which group has it harder, and I know you don't want to be treated like me.
Right.
And
everybody, every group has their
down.
own issues. You know what I'm saying? Like I mean, we all have our own issues, but I mean, like what I'm saying, well, I don't mean to like make it like I'm talking about something different because I'm not. But what I mean to say is that the one thing that kept us together, bro, was marriage, family. Like slavery couldn't break us up. Jim Crow, the Reconstruction period, you know what I'm saying? The Civil Rights Movement, all of that. Like the thing that kept us together and kept us striving and moving forward was we were together. We were married. Like now some people, like you go back to 1960, I don't necessarily believe these statistics that people say we was married at a rate of 90%. I don't believe that. You know what I'm saying? But I'm pretty sure it was probably holding steady at around somewhere in between.
It was about 75%.
Yeah,
about 75% in the 1960s.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like at the end of the day, guess what? Average people should get with average people, and then you become not average anymore. If I make 50K and my woman make 50K, guess what? Now we make 100K, and we can put our kids in a position to make 100K individually by building together and not sitting around saying the Black man need to fix it all. Well, what is the point and purpose for women to be working then? Like he can say now
luxury,
he wasn't talking about money, but he could say he wasn't talking about money, right? Maybe he wasn't, but we all know what women mean and what is typically meant when somebody says protect and provide. We know what provide means, bro. Let's not play semantics. We know what provide means. The word that he clearly said was Black men don't provide for Black women. That's what he said. So if you want to change your meaning up for it to move the goalpost, by all means, be my guest at that. But what I'm saying is, yeah, if I make 40K, no, I can't take care of a woman with 3 kids. Guess what? I shouldn't have a woman with 3 kids. Me and my woman should get together and we should build up our financial foundation before we even start having kids. It's a right way to do things, but it ain't just all on the man. I just don't like that talking point.
Yeah, if I may, because I want to. There's a few things I want to call out real quick. Shout out to Chantel for being here. I see you in the comments. If you want to come up, feel free to do so. Also, guys, I appreciate you for sharing your perspective. And I do see Dappergent said, okay, I'm not talking about money. So obviously he had a completely different perspective. You were also free to call in, Dappergent, if you want to speak on it or share more of your thoughts on it. Like I said, I know all we can do is just kind of decipher what we think we know, but it sounds like you have more to add on it. So feel free to call in or send in, your some more comments if you kind of want to clarify, if you feel like you want to speak on it. That's also shout out to Ty with the 10 on the super chat. I appreciate it. I see. I'm
gonna need that address, bro. I'm gonna need that address. We coming to rob your ass.
We said address. I'm confused.
I need that address. We coming to rob you and your husband.
Oh gosh. I see. Okay, wait, where did that look at that super chat just go? Wait, I just lost it. Okay. So I see I'm Native American. I talk to white, Mexican, and Asians. A lot of people have hatred towards you. I was blinded because I was never exposed to it until I traveled for work at 21 to 23 years old. Wow. That is absolutely, that's absolutely true. That is absolutely true. I think we all know that to a certain extent. I mean, and then where you go to, like where you go really does make a big difference. Me being in the Bay Area, as you know, Mr. Z likes to call it anti-blackness, anti-black rhetoric, ideology is it's more cute. It's more cute out here. It's a lot more nuanced. It's a lot more namaste. I have an Asian wife. I'm not racist. But you talk to them and you see the way they move and the way they act, and it's like, yeah, no, bro, you still have some stereotypes there. So so it's a lot more nuanced thought here, but nevertheless, that's not surprising. Oh, I see another one with Dappergents that came through. It says, it is educated immigrants that love talking down to foundational Black Americans. I actually, you know what? I'm glad he
That's
brought
somewhat
up
true.
I'm glad he brought up the point because I wanted to touch again upon this idea of I have the information I wanted to review real quick that was sent to me. I thought was interesting, so I'm going to bring this up real quickly. So it says, okay, so this goes back to because I've heard it said this is one of the different, I guess, talking points that I hear that Black immigrants are, I guess, running from the problem. So this is African diaspora remittances are better than foreign aids. So here's just some key points from a study where it talks about remittances, and here it says, in 2012, a diaspora of more than 140 million Africans remitted 60 billion, which is more than the development aid funds for international donors. Remittances will grow higher because of the rise of the number of migrants in economically fast developing areas of the world like China, Russia, India, Brazil. A recent study in China indicated that Africans send home anywhere from 10,000 to 100,000 yuan or more per person annually. Remittances go directly to the targets, unlike foreign aid funds, which have been known to be misappropriated at governmental and non-governmental levels. So what it's showing is that, immigrants, a lot of Black immigrants who are going out into different countries, they're making money and they're sending it back home to try to help to a certain capacity. At least that's what's being shown in this study here. So going back to, I've heard that idea that, Black people or immigrants are just running from their problems, running from their country. And as far as, at least what I'm seeing as far as financial support, I don't see that to be true. I don't just see that to be true in the general sense. I'm sure that there's some of those who are. I'm sure there are absolutely people who are just running from the problems, but we see a lot who are very much also involved and wanted to make sure that where they come from is still taken care of. So I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that. I saw this and I thought it was interesting. I wanted to kind of throw in a little monkey wrench there. And,
it's true. So go ahead.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I heard Africans that
whoever that is breaking
really up, J-Lock. You're breaking up.
And get opportunity, job opportunities. Never mind. Hold on, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Then I gotta go clear room. Then sorry.
Hey Shay, I had a cat tell me once before that that's part of the reason why Black people aren't as protected in this country is because most of the other demographics, they are sending money back home. They have countries that can fight for them. You see what I'm saying? So they said that's part of the reason why we are such an unprotected class, because we don't have anybody that we sending money back to that can go to war for us.
It's that, but it's also Black people were brought to America to be the permanent underclass. And this is my argument all the time when we talk about everything from money to interracial relationships to relationships in general. Black people were brought to America to be the permanent underclass. And until you fight that specifically, everything else you do is a waste of time. You have to fight not to be the permanent underclass, because everything else it's a crab in the barrel thing, but it's not only other crabs trying to hold you down, it's the owner of the barrel making sure you don't climb out, right? And so until we end up fighting pretty much as a collective, because right now everybody's on that hyper individuality shit, until we fight as a collective to upturn the barrel and climb back into the ocean, then everything else we do is just a waste. That's number one. Number two, I wanted to address something the brother said about marriage earlier, and this is going to be very Black pill. This is not even red pill. Marriage is becoming a luxury item, and that's one of the things that a lot of people are struggling with, because most of us are at least semi-stable. Marriage is no longer about stability. Marriage is about it's a luxury item, and that's why it's upturning everything. Because that's why you'll see women be like, well, if I can't have this, then I don't want nothing. What they're really saying is, if I can't have the Benz S-Class, then I don't want a Honda Civic or a Camry, even if they're reliable as shit. I don't want reliable. I want nice and extravagant. So, when you see some of these dudes and some of these women, some of these supposed incels, or some of these women that, I don't want struggle of, actually, especially if you're a college educated sister, you're probably not going to be in a struggle love situation. You're going to be in a stable situation, but you don't want stability. You want luxury, and you're couching stability as struggle love, right? And that's not really the same thing. So, I'll pause right there.
I think another thing I wanted to mention, oftentimes, I've heard the argument about, we were married a lot more. I mean, look, we even had marriages during slavery. Now, I mean, that of course we weren't considered people, so that's something different. But we had marriages obviously during slavery and then Reconstruction era, Jim Crow. So I've heard that where it's like, look, we had it then. Why can't we have it now? I think what sometimes is not always mentioned within that conversation is, well, one, what were the quality of those marriages? Because just because people were married doesn't necessarily mean that it was the kind of marriage that we want. Secondly, the system was different. There were not different governmental programs in place to incentivize women essentially being single. That started to happen, in the 20th century. That started to happen, I think, 40s, 50s, 60s. There were programs are rolled out to actually essentially incentivize women to have kids out of wedlock, essentially. And so those programs prior to that were not there. Now they are, and there are literal incentives for women who can get money from the government if they have kids, but they're not married. Like things like that happen. And so I think if we try to compare what was happening 50, 60, 70 years ago today and pretend that or act like it's the same system, it's just not. And I think if we're having that conversation as to, well, why were we married then or now, we have to look at the different policies, the way it actually impacted those families economically, not to mention the Jim Crow and those different things that are happening, in order to understand why we see marriage rates declining. And by the way, it's not just declining for Black people; it's declining.
I got the numbers. 50,
so that's just something.
I got the numbers. I'll shut up. It's 26%, according to the American Enterprise Institute. It's 26% for poor Americans, 39% for middle class, 56% for upper middle class and above. Like I said, and like Shay Sade is kind of backing me up on, it has become a luxury item. I'm not saying it should be that way. I'm saying our parents and grandparents, and even some of us, allowed it to be that way. And that's what it is now. We can fight against it now, but that is what it is as of right now in 2022. And I'll shut up.
Right.
Well, we talk about coming together as a community, and this includes, native-born Black Americans, FBA, and Black immigrants. All of us. I'll say this: if you're really trying to raise kids in a stable 2-parent home, then marriage. I'm not saying it's an absolute requirement, but I would recommend it. I think it's a good thing.
I would too.
That's when we talk about life outcomes and how things are better for the children. Now, if you're not going to get married and you're just going to go ahead and be a bachelor, bachelorette your lifelong, then I don't really see a need for it.
By the way, I want to get married.
Like the last issue, and then I'll talk to this issue with Toby, and I don't want to mess up his last name, out of respect to him. But the thing is that I kind of see this situation as a tipping point, meaning that people are going to look at this situation with him, his girlfriend, and make a decision. And kind of take some lessons from this, and hopefully we'll all be better in the extent and how we talk about our race, our group, how we interact with each other, and how something. And I hate to say something tragic brings us together, but we have to look at how we can all be better from this, how we express ourselves on social media, how we express ourselves in public, how we interact with each other, and I'm hoping that everybody Black, Issa Rae, right? Well, I'm rooting for everybody Black, is coming together in a way that's positive, so we all can benefit, whether we are in the IR relationship or not. And this is the other thing too. People kind of have this thing where everybody keeps going out. We're not. That's not what's happening. Over 80% of us are dating and marrying each other. I kind of hate that narrative. And then on top of that, when we do get my issue is that we're not getting married enough when we're producing children. That would be my issue.
There you go.
It's not so much that people are going out. It's, are we getting married and we're not getting married enough, and then we're producing children to the extent that we don't have the families that we should supposed to have. Chantel comes up and she actually put a tweet in or a super chat in that says, hey, just get back to being a community and family. And that's really the bottom. That's the baseline thing that we need in order to improve ourselves internally. And we don't necessarily need to have a collective focal point, like we need an area set aside for us. We can all be families, but kind of spread out. But we have that as a core center, then we're good. You see what I'm saying? That's how we improve.
And so that starts with people.
Situation at the tipping point. I'll stop right there.
I'm sorry. Yeah. And that starts with people understanding, listen, I'm an average guy. I have an average woman. Average ain't bad.
Sounds like profanity to me, sir.
Exactly. The average, I can't speak for men because I don't date men, but the average woman looks nice. That's a good looking woman. You know what I'm saying? She's just not fine or gorgeous or unbelievably drop dead. Oh my God. But the average woman looks nice, right?
Somebody's still going to try to take her from you.
Exactly. You see what I'm saying? Still people trying to hit on her, trying to take her. So what I'm saying is when you look at other races, bro, the average people on average, they're married. White people, 53%, Hispanics, 60%, Asians, 70 and up. You know what I'm saying? Arabs, everybody else is married. They understand that the foundation for building a community is family. And I'm not saying marriage as in license and paper, but that I guess that couldn't hurt. But I'm just saying husband, wife, you know what I'm saying? Man, woman in the house, raising the kids, not feeling like, oh, I deserve better. I should have somebody come save me. I'm a prince in the tower waiting for a frog to turn into a man to come kiss me. No. You know what I'm saying? Listen, I literally was at a function last night, and there was a lady there who was talking about how she was dating this guy. I said this on another podcast last night. She was dating this guy, and then after a month, she broke it off with him because he was too nice. She didn't feel like he would be able to put her in her place. These are her words. I'm not putting nothing in her mouth. He was too nice. I didn't feel like he could put me in my place. I don't need nobody that's just gonna let me do whatever I want to do. But this woman has 4 kids. So you didn't think enough about letting this nice man come in and be nice to you and nice to your kids and be a provider and a protector for your kids. You was too busy worrying about what your sexual organs was telling you. You see what I'm saying? So that's the problem. Dapper
Ike Turner has entered the chat.
That's the problem, Dapper Gents. Not that men aren't providing. It's just that women don't want to build with men. They want a man that's already at a certain financial successful level. Whereas all the other races, they get with each man. I remember when I lived in Chicago, there's a little suburb called Aurora. Bro, there used to be all white people, a few black people, and a few Mexicans, right? Now it's pretty much all Mexicans. They got all the houses. They got all the trucks. They own all the businesses. And you know why? Because when back in the day in the 80s and 90s, when we was laughing at them, because it was 8 or 9 of them in one house and 8 or 9 of them in one car, they was building. They was building to the point where they are today, where all them 8 or 9 in one house all own their own houses, all own their own trucks, all own their own businesses. I don't understand why we refuse to do that as a people. I just don't get it. Black women married at a rate of 26%. Black men married at 33%. It's embarrassing, bro.
Right. Well, again, I got a few more super chats in. Again, shout out to Dapper Gents for the 5. Like I said, this is why he is sponsor of the week. I see. I'm talking about, a unified nation of black men on one accord with a game plan in case things here in USA hit the fan. And again, I appreciate you so much for just showing the support. I really do appreciate all of you guys, all of you sponsors of the week. So no, we had a
argue with that.
Shay, we're not gonna rob you anymore. We're gonna rob Dapper Gents. Dapper Gents, I need your address.
Nah, don't even, please. Nah. No, like I said, so I appreciate, like I said, all the love and support. I know not everybody necessarily agrees, but that's okay as long as we can keep things loving and respective. Also, I did see a super chat coming through from Ty.
Are you riding? Say you never ever leave from beside me. I want you and I need you.
Oh, somebody got a Drake playing.
Somebody's background, yeah.
What's going on? Okay.
My bad.
I thought that was you, Shay. That's why I didn't say anything. I was like,
wait. At first I thought, did I have a window open? But no. Shout out to Ty with the 5 on the super chat. Okay, I see information, and dating apps are as infected everyone's minds from the male and female. All younger girls 18 to 24 have this false idea of economics. I agree. There's a lot of people that don't really have a good I'm looking at this dancing. Have a good understanding of economics. and not to mention what they teach us in school. I think personally, it's trash. I know.
Yes.
It's not.
Speak on it. Speak on it.
Good.
Diarrhea.
So yeah, I wanted to make sure I got everyone. Again, guys, if you would like to show support to the show, you can find me on Cash App or Venmo Shay Sade. Also, as y'all know, super chats are open. I will be sure to acknowledge all super chats, and I appreciate you guys for sharing your perspective on this. It sounds like I said we have some differing views, and that's okay as long as we can keep it respectful.
Mm-hmm.
So let me see. Yeah, so I think I got everything for now. So I don't know. I know, J-Rock, you've been trying to come in and out. I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to add. I think I'm gonna try to wrap up things relatively soon here. So I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add to the conversation. Looks like some of y'all got kicked out. Let's see.
Shay, somebody in the chat just said only 25% of black men marry black women.
This is so asexual, so ahistorical.
Man,
what?
Well, I've seen a lot of afactual, ahistorical comments coming through. I try to engage as much as I can with the comments. I'm not always able to get to things, but I make it a point to respond and acknowledge all super chats because like I said, those are also kind of obvious to see, but some of these comments are going through fast, so I can't always get it.
Just say you want to be with Brad. Just say you want to be with Brad and go be with Brad, bro. You don't gotta lie, bro. What they say, you ain't gotta lie to kick it, Craig. You ain't gotta lie. You can just go. Damn.
Yeah, I have like I said, I don't have a problem. I'm like, if you really believe that you can expand your option with men who are marrying you at a rate of less than 1%, go. Like I legitimately, when I say I legitimately hope and pray and believe that woman should go for the best options, whether it's from the black community, outside the black community, I mean that. I'm just like, don't put a target on yourself and don't spread misandry or just hatred in the meantime, because that's usually not going to end well. And if you are leaving or divesting or marrying somebody and you're motivated by hatred, or you're just trying to use that person as a trophy, that's not going to end well, because those are not good motives. So
Shay, you put it up. Shay, you put it up, the screenshots of Twitter where the two white dudes were like, why is it that all these black feminists or all these black radicals got white spouses? I'm like, bro, everybody see what y'all are doing. Like, nobody's blind, bro. Keep going. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's big. That's real big what you just said, Shay. I appreciate that.
Yeah, so
it's just funny. No, y'all hear the echo. I'm at work right now, but no. So yeah, no. So like that. Look, we're talking about a brother that unfortunately lost his life, and it's not even the person is not even being investigated. And the same thing that we saw with Lauren Smith Field, same thing we saw with Asia Maynard. Yes. Like, this thing is serious, black people. Look. As much anger or sadness and that I have, because it is a mixture of anger and sadness, towards divestors. I don't want y'all to get killed. Like, I'm not even joking. This is not even Mr. Z placating. I don't want y'all to get killed, right? Brothers or sisters, but y'all gotta be careful how y'all moving, and y'all are so loud about y'all anti-blackness. It's causing y'all to, like me and Shay are saying, y'all getting a target on y'all back. And the problem is, because you're so loud about it, it makes it so difficult to have sympathy for you when something negative happens to you, right? At least back in the day, somebody would have been protesting, right? We would have got the person's name. We would have been damn near about to burn the damn police station down. But it makes it really hard to advocate for you like that, right? And because we can't defend you from being killed necessarily, right? If it's, but we can bring some justice after the fact, right? And it's hard for us to do that when so many of us don't want to, because you spoke about it so recklessly during your life, right? If you want to go out there and experience the greatness of non-blackness through a non-black spouse, go ahead. But this reckless talking all through the internet, it's putting a target on your back. And I keep on stressing this over and over again. Everybody sees it. And those white dudes and those white girls, they're not as naive as y'all think they are. They know, man. I've grown up, I've worked with white people, I've chilled with white people, I've been at white people's houses, their parties. I'm telling you, they know. They know. And we're not talking about like hood white people. Your everyday white dude or white woman, she knows and he knows about what's going on in the Black community. The Latinos know. That's why when they want to experience some interracial sex, they'll come through, they'll flirt with you a little bit, they'll pipe for 6 months, 9 months, and they're done with you. And you'll call that a relationship. When I talked to white dude, he wasn't in a relationship with you. You know, y'all just gotta be careful. I'm done.
Hey man, I want to say this, and this is gonna be really quick. I am so thankful that I don't have any clue about this community that you're talking about. I have not ever seen one divested channel. Bro, I don't even know what that is. Like, I know the word, I've heard people use it, but I don't follow it. I don't even see it, bro. So whatever I'm doing with my YouTube and my social media, I'm gonna make sure I keep doing that, because I don't even want to see any of this content. I have no clue.
Just imagine Black people using anti-Black, neo-Nazi, white supremacist language against each other. I promise you, the first time it ever come across you, if it ever does, you'll be like, this got to be a white troll. And then you'll look in and be like, no, that's a Black man or a Black woman.
Man, I hope
some of them are trolls, but some of them, like, I mean, some of the main ones are Black women. If you want to call it Black FBA, ADOS, however, like American born women. Some of the main ones pushing this nonsense. So, it's
wait, is Kendra G in this Kendra divested?
No, she ain't there yet.
Oh, okay.
She ain't there. She still want a brother, but she light work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
that's
think
the only one I know
absolutely.
I've heard say anything like talk bad about Black men. All
Nah,
the other
shit,
ones
if you think Kendra G's bad,
they be
you ain't
going-
seen nothing.
Yeah, I only know. Well, I know about Shay now. I know about Jessica and Pink Book Lessons is my favorite. Like, all the females that I see, you know, they are all about Black love and Black marriage and Black family and Black. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just thankful that I don't get to see any of this toxic stuff that you all are talking about.
Yeah, you're not missing out on anything. And like I said, I
Right.
have no hate. As I've said about 50 times and will continue to say, I don't have no hate for anybody who decides to date and marry out, man or woman. Like I said, I'm not one of those women that's, you know, mad at a Black guy that it prefers a Latina woman or a white woman. And I'm not mad if a Black woman prefers a white guy. Like, that's not my issue. My issue is the anti-Black rhetoric, as Mr. Z puts it, or just the self-hatred. Because like I said, not only, again, as I put a target on the back of the person, now you're undermining and sowing seeds of discord in your own community, and that's counterproductive. And oftentimes, you know, when I do that, I'll hear the gaslighting. I'll hear, oh, well, men do it too. And then, or some men will say, well, women do it too. And that's what children do. When you call a child on an issue, then they say, oh, well, he hit me first, or, oh, well, her parents had to do that. And it's like, I don't care what their parents let him do. I'm talking to you. And so I see that rhetoric when somebody's called.
And we see what type of mommy Shay gonna be. For real. Hey, don't be telling me what he did.
As soon as somebody is called on, be like, hey, that's wrong, then they want to say, oh, well, that other person does it. And it's like, well, they're not in the conversation. And that doesn't, all that does is give you a reason to not be accountable. So that is my biggest issue, because I think anything that is sowing hatred towards, you know, anybody, I'm like, that's just wrong, period. It's like, I'm one of those, I love people. Now I know that there are, of course, there's issues that are inherent to certain cultures and the ethnicities, and we've got to deal with this racist system. Like, I'm aware of that, but at the end of the day, it's like, I truly love people. So I don't like when I see things that I think that are just bad and detrimental to that. I feel like that goes against who God created me to be. That goes against God creation, and that's not honoring, you know? Yeah. So all of that. Shout out to Delta Guy with the 50 on the Cash App. It's been a while since I've seen you in, so it's good to see you. I see, let's see the comment. Shay, keep up the important work. We need to resist and push back on the toxic anti-Black divester hate. Much appreciated. And here I go.
This always makes me laugh.
Y'all, my family does too much. That was I got that at a family hangout. So
I figured, because I'm like, is this Shay's uncle or somebody? Because
no,
this shit is
that's definitely my
hysterical.
uncle. I don't even know that he knows that I'm making him famous. But
Okay,
like
I
this
figured
is
as much.
even with that chat, that super chat that just came through, it just really shines a light on this. Like, this is really a big deal, I guess. Because I know I hear people talk about the men's platforms, but I mean, most of the guys that I watch, and I'll say this about Fresh and Fit, I don't really watch them anymore, right? But again, it wasn't like they was lying. You know what I'm saying? The things they were saying about the behavior of women, they weren't lying. You know what I'm saying? They might have been condescending. I'll give you that. But they weren't lying. But you know, all of the platforms I watch, the Coach Gregs, the Kevin Samuels, the MTRs, all these cats, I don't see them as being bashful or divestors. You know what I'm saying? They just trying to hold women accountable. This community that you all are talking about, this is terrible, bro.
it's just
I'm like
online.
sad at this point.
Yeah. It's honestly like online wars. I try to remind myself this because there is this whole like kind of cyber pseudo world that exists online that I think it's a reflection of the toxicities of like the extreme toxicities of the real world. But like most people who are doing all this crazy rhetoric, walking throughout the day, aren't doing this kind of stuff because they know they will get. Some of them may get beat up, may get hurt. So, I take that with a grain of salt that social media is not necessarily real life. It gives us indications of what people maybe think behind closed doors or their mental illness, but it is not a reflection of like how everybody is like literally acting as they go outside. So I always take that with a grain of salt and use that to try to level set things.
What did Dave Chappelle say? Twitter's not a real place?
Right.
Well, that's true, but so this is my thing, and I had to stop myself from doing this. You find that because I know someone who knows someone who's been on one of those divested pages, right, and has literally spoken to the host of that channel. And she had a messed up relationship with her ex-husband, and now she's when you hear her speak and then you know enough about her, you know she's not living the life she's speaking about online, right? So she's speaking like, oh yeah, I've rubbed elbows with millionaires and billionaires in New Mexico, and I'm like, wait a minute, there's only 2,800 billionaires on the planet. How many of them live in New Mexico? How many of them visit New Mexico, right? And like I know the young lady, so I know she's BSing. But like Shay is saying, some of these things that's going on the internet is exaggerated, and more importantly, it's fantasy. A lot of these people are lying to y'all about how they live and what they doing, right? And y'all got to be careful when you listen to these sisters and these brothers who's gonna gas y'all up and have y'all single for the rest of y'all goddamn life. Because a lot of this is, and I'm happy we brought up the money thing earlier. A lot of brothers and sisters are talking real crazy about money, about these weird ass fantastical relationships they're in, and I'm like, well, that's not true. Like, I know the numbers. This is the beauty of like the internet. This is how I use the internet and use YouTube. All I do is listen to lectures. If Shay's not on, if other content creators I mess with are not on, all I'm doing is listening to lectures, listening to documentaries, watching documentaries, surfing Google, looking up stats.
Right, looking up stats. Yeah,
that's all I'm doing all day, every day. I'm at work right now. I'm on right now. Once Shay in, I'm gonna go right back to listening to what I was listening to earlier, right? So like, and I was listening to a philosopher. So brothers and sisters and people in general, that's not what they're using the internet for. The number one reason people use the internet is, PORN, right? That's the number one reason. Then no, that's actually true. I'm not making that up. And then people
I just found that out the other day. My husband.
Yeah, no, that's the number one. Yeah, that's the number one. Some of those particular websites are like the number one visited sites on the internet. And then you get your Googles and your Facebooks and your YouTubes and all that other stuff. And that lets you know that the reason that what Shay is doing and other people on the internet, especially on this side of the conversation, are doing, is we're telling people to come out your bubbles and look at reality in the real world. Because y'all are curating your own echo chambers and your own silos, and it's causing you to be delusional. So when you come out here in the real world, it's almost like you're a newborn child. Like, what the hell is going on? I don't know, reality. right? Because you're curating your own reality, and that's actually not healthy, right? And that's we end up in messed up situations like this brother who I don't know exactly how his relationship was with this lady, but there might have been cues or might have been signals and signs for him to get out, and he's not paying attention because he's consuming so much stuff that, hey, black women are the worst. You need to end up with these women or those women or whatever, and then he ends up in this situation, and so for me, it's just about being careful about what you're consuming on the internet. That's perversing how you think about the world. And then when you come out here in the real world, or better yet, let me say this, how you feel about the world. And then when you come out here in the real world and it hits you like an 18-wheeler, well.
Absolutely. Shout out to CJ Banks with the 10 on the super chat. I see some of these divestors are probably being funded by white supremacists and people who want to spread propaganda and infiltrate the black community. I agree. No, I there are absolutely some accounts that I don't think are real, are legitimate, because you can tell. I don't know if you've ever watched a movie that seems like it seems like it's a white actor or white writer writing for black people, but for a white audience, right?
Yep.
It has an all black audience, but it's overdone. The humor's kind of flat. They're using these stereotypes and these words that they're just there's something about it is a little off, and you can tell it's for a white audience, although it's supposed to be about black folks. So you could tell some of those accounts, some of those burner accounts where it's just you're trying to act like a black person, you're trying to act like a black woman, but it's something about it is a little off. So there is that, and then there are, I think, just legitimate self-hating people online who just, like I said, in real life they are socially awkward. Maybe their heart was broken. There's trauma. There's a bad relationship with families, whatever it may be, and they don't fit in. Maybe they were teased a lot. Maybe the guy that they liked, turned them down for a light-skinned woman or a Becky or a Latina, whatever it may be. And they go online to just take out all their trauma versus deal with it. That does exist.
You just described all of them, Shay. That's all of it.
But you know what else? You know what else exists though? And I don't think a lot of people would account for this sometimes. We may find it hard to believe that some people's experiences are just well, let me give you an example. So I've had a lot of run-ins with the police, right? So if I just looked at my experiences with the police, I wouldn't like the police. You know what I'm saying? Man, look at all the times I had to fight these guys. Look at all the times I had to run from these guys. All the times they took my freedom away from me, this and that, right? Some people have certain experiences with certain things and demographics, bro, that tailor their thoughts to be negative, a negative perception of it, right? So even as a black person, bro, the world is very evil and condescending towards blackness. In the media and everything, you have all these women talking about what they go through with colorism. We already know how the world presents black men and how black men actually present themselves to the world. You know what I'm saying? So the world is very condescending towards blackness. And so there could be a specific person that is just taking in so much of that content, you know what I'm saying, that it just programs a negative idea.
Brother, that's exactly what's happening.
Even though they black. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so it goes back to dealing with that trauma though, and then trying to come out of that dark place that you're in. I'll say this. So again, what we see with this this young man's situation is that there's some backlash and consequences for things that you put out there, whether he meant it as a compliment or insult, whatever, however he meant it. People are taking it a certain way and they're feeling a certain way about it and they're responding to it. So I am not against criticizing us as a group internally and actually trying to fix problems. I think you have to look at it to the extent that you have to couch it so that way it's not a personalized attack. It's general information. You're backing it up with facts and statistics and studies, and then you're offering solutions that are practical and actionable. So again, that's so far out of reach that that average person can't act on it and actually come to a reasonable solution. You see what I'm saying? Make sense?
Yeah.
No, exactly what you just said. And you know, we like I said it like 4 times already. I'll say it again. Does a fish know it's swimming? We like you just said, brother. We are consuming a lot of this content. I actually cover this. You know, in the 90s, in the late 80s, going into the 90s, all through the 90s and the early aughts, the advertisers knew where the money was coming in. So the Disneys and the Nickelodeons purposely they seated themselves. They targeted little girls with lifestyle advertisement, right? So the commercial was a commercial and the TV show was a goddamn commercial. And all they did on the TV show was place brands and cool shit so that your daughter could nag you about the shit endlessly until you got it for her, right? Now, those little girls are now me and Shay and everybody else, you know, in their 20s and 30s age. And so that's why when I said earlier, marriage has become a luxury item, and she don't want this the reliable the reliable Toyota Camry of a man. She wants the Benz of a man, whether it's reliable or not. That's what I'm saying, right? 20 years, 30 years of just constant. You need the nicest shit. You need the nicest. You need the nicest things. The nicest things. The nicest things has now gotten people to this place where they're looking for spouses, and it's been a thing throughout human history, right? But now the uber wealthy people have capitalized on it. People are looking at spouses as products. And that's one of the issues that we're having. This is why certain brothers and certain sisters want their spouse to look a certain way. They want their spouse to make a certain amount of money, to have a certain education. It's not the betterment of the family. That's a lie. It's because you want bragging rights. You want show-off rights. And a lot of people are ending up in these weird situations like this brother sometimes, like an Asia Maynard or a Lauren Smith Fields, or sometimes they're ending up super single because for them it's, if I can't have the Benz, I would rather walk. And I'm okay with people actually thinking and feeling that. But then when the consequences come and you're walking on a rainy day and nobody's stopping for you, then that's on you. Likewise, if the consequences come, if COVID happens and now you by yourself as a single woman got to go to the store and get toilet paper and you trying to fight it out with 6'3" tall dudes, you got, I mean, that's the consequences. Right. People have to understand your ideas are biting you in your own butt and now you're mad at the world. Sometimes it's not the world. Sometimes it's you. But I understand I'm a black man. I was born and raised in America. Sometimes it is the world, but not all the times.
No, right. And that's what I say. That's what I say. Even when I'm talking to women about, because I am all for women having choice. I'm all for women having whatever choice that they think they need to make and also owning it. So whether that is you decide that you want to, whether it's take the more traditional route and work together with a man and figure out how to build and how to cooperate, all the kind of different stuff, I'm all for supporting it. Or if it's you want to do the modern woman thing and be bad all by yourself and literally do bad by yourself, or be a boss babe, level up, whatever that may be, I'm like, yeah, do that also, and also don't blame men if it doesn't work out. So that's, I'm just like, whatever you choose. Whether it's you want to, like I said, be married, have the traditional route, there's going to be pros and cons to that. If you want to be the boss babe, level up girl, there's going to be pros and cons to that. But you have to own it, and then it can't be other people's fault necessarily if it doesn't go out the way that you want. You just need to know realistically, what is this going to mean? How is this going to impact me? And then move accordingly.
Hey Shay, I ain't trying to
toxic, but I am literally waiting for you to say something that I can disagree with.
Because at this point you haven't, you know what I'm saying? It's actually kind of boring. I wish you would shake it up a little bit. Shake it up a little bit. Oh, man. Say something I can combat.
Yeah. You guys, I can't.
At this point you're just being phenomenal, and it's kind of boring. You know what I mean? All of this accountability and
I don't know,
all of this fairness you're doing right now.
You got to go listen to one of those divestor channels so you can get your blood boiling.
I will not. I'm gonna protect my peace. I'm protecting my peace from that. I'm cool.
Don't do it. It'll mess up your YouTube feed.
Right.
You just expose that. See, some people find peace boring. I like peace. But some people find peace boring. Some people like a little bit of toxicity and drama.
Stability is boring. I've said this before. Stability is boring. And like people will destroy their lives looking for excitement at every corner, right? And like, which brother was it when he said the sister said something like, oh, he couldn't handle me, and she got 4 kids at home. Well, as you can see, she's been thrill riding. I mean that with a pun. She's been thrill riding, right? And look at what she got for it.
Yeah, it's
right.
And here's the thing about that though. The thing about that situation is, and I told her this. That was my first time ever seeing her. I told her, I said, once you, actually, it should have been prior to the kids, but I'm like, you got 4 kids. Like at this point, it's not about you anymore.
Yeah, that's
you know what I'm saying? Because what will end up happening is your kids will end up being the people we're talking about on the internet. You know what I'm saying?
And your sons will grow to resent you.
That part. See, this is what I'm saying, man. Like, thank you so much for saying that. That's what I mean, bro. Like when we tend to act like, you know what I'm saying, men have these great households and then they turn 18 and they just turn toxic. You know what I'm saying? Like they just wake up one day and it's just like, you know what? I hate black women and I hate myself and I'm a sucker and I'm a coon and all this other stuff. And it's like, no, you know what I'm saying? There are things that happen to you, processes that you go through that turn you into that. I was that guy. I'll be honest, it wasn't into 2022, it wasn't into 2019, bro, when I actually stopped loathing women. Because when I looked over the course of my life, most of the stuff, like 80% of the stuff that I had been through, that I felt like I was a victim in that situation, was with women. I hadn't really been victimized by men. You see what I'm saying? Most of the men in my life was trying to protect me. When I was young and I wanted to gangbang, I had a bunch of guys like, nah, we'll look out for you, but we're not letting you join the gang. I know your mama. You know what I'm saying? I know your little brothers. I know you ain't built for this. I never had no guys really coming, hey, man, come sell these drugs. Come hold these guns. You know what I'm saying? They was all, hey, man, keep playing basketball. Hey, man, keep doing your rap thing. Hey, man, keep doing whatever it is you got going on. This ain't it, right? It was the women in my life. Look, nigga, we got a baby. You need to go sell some drugs or something. You need to do some child support, domestic violence, you know, black. Whenever somebody get mad at you and you my complexion with your black ass, black this and black that, they make black seem like it's this horrible thing, bro. And so that's what I'm saying. We can't pretend like these men don't have histories, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
sir, you sound soft. Women have history. You have nothing. I'm playing with you, bro.
But I'm just saying, like, now, so what happened in 2019 was my lady collapsed, man. We was like dancing and drinking just at home chilling, and she collapsed, bro. Come to find out, she had this medical issue going on, right? And she was losing a lot of blood consistently on a daily basis. And so seeing her body collapse like that, it like took me to this place where I just immediately valued her life. Like prior to that, I had valued her body. I valued her time, but I didn't necessarily value her life because we spent a lot of time arguing. But from that moment, I cared about her health, and caring about her health made me start caring about the health of Black women in general. You see what I'm saying? And so from that point, I started changing my tone up. Now I still try to hold women accountable, but that's because our women are our nurturers. They are our caregivers. They are our first educators. They are the conveyors of our culture. Our men will become what we think women want. If our women said we want musty, ignorant, goofy, dumb men, that's what men would try to be. Period. Nobody could convince me otherwise. You know what I'm saying? So if by extension, as a mother, it's up to you to cultivate this man or this boy, the boy into becoming the man, like not being able to work with his hands, not being able to protect, not being able to provide, not being disciplined, but I'm just talking about his culture, the way he looks at his own people, the way he views his own women, the way he views his own skin. All of that is going to be a direct connection to your relationship with your mother.
Can I add to this, brother? What's very important, and women need to understand this. This is as old of an adage as humanly possible. We don't care what you're saying. We care who you screwing. Don't tell me about nice guys, good guys, and then we know who you having sex with and who actually turns you on. Because I know a lot of women think men don't. I'm telling you, I speak to these brothers. I'm in these spaces. We know who you were piping when you were 16. Okay, you were a kid. We get it. All right. We know who you were piping when you were 26. Right. We know who you were piping when you were 36. And now you want to marry a good guy and hurry up and have 1 or 2 kids from him at 42. It don't work that way. Women, just like y'all have y'all angers and y'all resentments and y'all sadness from boys and men from when you were a kid, you have to understand boys and men have it too. That's what the brother was just explaining to you, right? So and this happens often. It's like, sisters will be talking about a good guy. Yeah, you're saying that now at 37 years old. Right? Let me look back in your past. And I'm not saying that people don't grow and mature. That's not it. But you have to understand what you make a man feel like when you do that is a consolation prize. You don't really love him. You don't really care about him. You don't even really like the dude. You just need a captain save him, right? You know that Social Security ain't gonna cut it. So you need a spouse to hurry up and cover some of that shit for you. That's what it seems like oftentimes. And I talk to these brothers, and unlike back in the day, see, our dads and granddads used to eat that. These young men, these Generation Z especially, oh no, they ain't eating that. Right. If you ain't feeling him, he's not gonna be utilities just so he could get some guaranteed sex or semi-guaranteed sex. Right. And by the way, that used to be the game. Yep. A lot of our mothers, that was the game they was pulling. Right? They would do whatever they wanted to do, live out here free and fast. Some of them had kids, some of them not. And then when 30-something start rolling around, or maybe even 40-something, then they'll go find them a stable guy. The new stable guys and baller dudes are not going to be captain save them. They're not. So ladies, listen. Get with somebody you really love that got their act together, or, well, I guess be single.
What you're saying right now is so real, bro, because I know for a fact that a lot of men do not like being minimized to being providers and protectors. Like when they say men aren't emotional, I'd be like, bro, look at the domestic violence rates. It takes emotion. It takes emotion for you to care that much to fight with a chick. Like, that's emotion, bro. Look at the suicide rates. That's emotion. My little brother just last year killed himself, bro. Like a week after my birthday. You know what I'm saying? He poured gasoline all over himself outside of his baby mama's
My condolences.
House. Thank you, bro. I appreciate that. She broke up with him. She wasn't letting him see his kids, and he was fighting his gun case. He thought he was gonna get convicted, have to do 5 years. He had a lot going on, bro. He poured gasoline all over himself and set himself on fire in his car. Like, that's emotions, bro. Like, that's not having control of your emotion. But I'm just saying, men are emotional. It's just that we're also violent. So therefore, that emotion often gets expressed violently because we aren't cultured to express ourselves verbally. I'm not the best at it, but in college, I debated a lot. So I can argue pretty good. You know what I'm saying? But everybody's not like that. My lady,
fellow debater, I see you.
Yeah, my lady, when we get into an argument, bro, she's like a dude. She's more masculine and I'm more feminine because I want to argue till we come to a resolution and then have.
Shay, now you understand why he was telling you being boring right now.
So to Mr. Z's point, as it relates to the backup guy, if you want to call him that. So I remember, when Steve Harvey first had his radio show before he started doing all these other jobs, he had something about the strawberry letter, and then he had like a segment where he would actually big up people. And he had one section. I remember this one letter. It was like in the 1990s, so that kind of tells you how old I am. But it was in the 1990s, and it was really praised. It was a letter that a child wrote, probably like a 12 to 11-year-old kid wrote, just praising his stepfather, talking about, my stepdad came into our life. He's doing this for my mom. He's doing this for me. He's teaching us this, doing that, doing all these other great things. And now here we are, 20 plus years later, and dudes are like, nope, they don't care about any of that. Because what's happening is that guys are kind of seeing that as, okay, so yeah, you're bringing all of this, and now I'm the backup guy that's supposed to, be that guy that, should have been, this kid's father, or however it is they're looking at it. So that kind of relates to Mr. Z's.
Can I remind you of another letter that a child wrote? It's gonna be real short. Let me remind you of another letter. If somebody already know where I'm going, another letter that a kid wrote. Willow's letter. Willow, and exactly. Willow wrote a letter to the guy that was supposed to be the main guy, and her daddy just so happened to be the fallback plan. Oops, did I go there?
You see
Yes,
where
I
we
did.
are now.
God.
That's where we are.
So
That
that's
is
a
messed
whole
up.
other line, y'all. But
Right.
okay, that is a whole. You about to take this is you about to turn this into a whole other hour chat.
Hey,
so you guys listen, huh?
Yeah. Can I point out something else real quick as it relates to this situation that we're talking about for the whole chat?
Yeah,
so
go and then I'll need to wrap it up after this.
Roger, keep in mind what's happening on the other side. You notice Will Smith slapped somebody and everybody's traumatized. Somebody got stabbed to death and nobody's saying nothing on that other side. All right, just kind of keep that in mind, and how what's going on. And when I say on the other side, you guys know I'm talking about. But at any rate, everybody was all over the internet, all traumatized by, and I get that, we had the slap on the slap heard around the world, but this is something much worse. And there's no celebrity, no politician, no major personality, nobody from any other group or anything talking about this, to the extent that probably Black people are the only ones talking about this. And this has generated a whole lot of conversation. So there should be a whole lot of lessons and lessons learned coming out of this, so that way we can be better as a group. And that's for the immigrants, FBA, swirlers, divestors. We don't want, and I think somebody said this already, this is not open season on Black folks. All right. Right. So we got to pay attention to what's happening out here, and we got to move differently. We got to move safely, and we have to make good, solid decisions. And then we also have to make sure that we stay connected to our roots, so that we don't get lost in the shuffle when something does happen. Because at the end of the day, the only group that's going to really look out for you and look out for your best interest and protect you and kind of fall back on you is the people that you came from, not somebody else. Because that's not what other groups do.
Yeah, and Shay, I'm gonna need you on your next episode to make the topic like, do we or do we not put sugar in grits? So I can come and debate you. You know what I'm saying? So I can come and debate you real good. You know what I'm talking about?
Hey, thanks, Shay. Thanks, Drew. It's been a good panel. I'm gonna go ahead and take on off, but thanks for allowing me to get some talking.
Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks for hanging out, bro.
Appreciate all you guys. Appreciate you.
All right, man. I'm gonna call it a night too. Thanks, Shay, for having me on. I know I'm long-winded and shit. I'm sorry, y'all. I came out the womb this way.
It's
But
okay, though. I appreciate your commentary. Unless I would just kind of avoid your avoid you in the back.
Okay, right. But once again, this was a great topic, and we got to be careful. That's all I'm saying. Y'all go ahead and do what y'all want to do with whoever you want to do it with, but be careful about what you say and how you move, because you make it real difficult for people to care about you when something wrong happens. And I'll end it right there. I don't got to belabor the point. Thanks for having me up, Shay.
Sure.
If I'm gonna say anything on the topic, it's just rest in peace to that brother. I don't know, if that lady did what she did, man. It's some sort of justice needs to be served. I'm not the person to say what that is, but I also know it takes some inner demons for you to be able to stab a person, for real. Like that's bad. So I hope she gets the help she need. And I want to say this has been a bomb panel. This is a bomb show. I subscribe. I'm here for you. And as soon as I become a high value man, I'm gonna send you $5 in the super chat.
All right.
Peace out, sister.
All right. Okay. You have a good one.
Thanks so much for having me up, Ms. Shay. My phone's on 5%, so I gotta really go. I don't know to cut
all good. No worries.
Good discussion as always. Keep being great. Thank you so much.
Okay. Also, I did want to acknowledge some of the super chats that came through again. Where'd you go? Shout out to Christian Hutchinson with the 5 on the super chat. I see, don't feel sorry for old boy. So much of the violence that people experience is people involved in nefarious activities. She was a sex worker, chose your circle. I do appreciate the support. And again, I did see another one come through with, let me see. Where'd you go? There's another one. I want to make sure I got from Miss Delta Guy again. I appreciate you, Miss Delta Guy. I see. Okay, I knew we were in the phantom zone when a black woman divestor said that we need to a word black male babies. Even on the internet, way would you fix your mouth to say those words? We are in strange times. Therapy is needed. I agree. I've seen some really weird stuff online. That's all I can say. Shout out to Christopher B with the 5. I see Shay. Can you do a show on divestor frontals? Sorry, I wasn't expecting that. Okay, do white men like these frontal selections? Sorry. Oh, I don't know why that's so funny to me. I was not expecting that, y'all. I'm sorry. Okay, Shay, can you do a show on divestor frontals? Do white men like those frontal selections? Why the frontal hairline looks so different from black women that like black men? Okay. I don't know why that's so funny to me. Divestor frontals. I think I'm hungry, y'all. I need to get some food. Okay, that's low key is a good idea. Divestor frontals. I'm gonna have to think about that one. What do y'all think? Should we do a show on divestor frontals? Like, is there like a specific frontal that black women get when they have said that they are ready to divest? What do y'all think? Would that be a good low key? I feel like there might be something to that. I'm gonna have to think on that, y'all. But I see. Do it. I'm good. That's all you. That was funny. I was not ready for that. Anyways, okay, y'all. So y'all gave me some good laughs today, some good support. I appreciate all of y'all. This was a good conversation. You know, just to wrap it up again, I will say, first of all, thank y'all for being here, hanging out with me. Y'all could have been anywhere else, but you were here, hanging out, chilling, sending your love, support, comments, contributions. So thank you. If you have not already, please hit that like button before you leave. Hit the like button. And again, let me say, you know, men, women, whoever, I will always say you should be able to date and marry whoever you want. We live in this free country, right? Well, supposedly free, depending on how you look at it. Either way, we live in a supposedly free country. You can choose who you want, get whatever job you want, love whoever you want. Ain't no issue there. If that's outside of your race, cool. If it's inside of your race, cool. Like, I'm more for people doing what is going to work for them. Like, seriously. With that said, we cannot fall into the illusion or the delusion that white is always right. That just because you experience certain issues, maybe in your family or in your community, people among you, that means the way to escape those issues is to just marry lighter skin or to just marry white skin. That ideology right there can be incredibly dangerous. And we see this being promoted among women. And we also see some men falling into this. And we can debate as to whether or not this is something that comes, you know, it's innate to American culture, or it's coming from other cultures, or if it's just the men or the women. You know, we can debate about it, but either way, we see it impacting people on levels. And unfortunately, not only can it be detrimental to that person and put a target on their back, it can end up in fatal. And that's what we saw in this situation. Anytime a person is motivated by hate, whether it's self-hatred or trauma or unprocessed trauma, that's never a good thing. It's never a good thing, guys. So that's why I say I think your motives have a lot to do with it. It's different if a person just happens to fall in love with somebody and they're a different ethnic group. That's different than I specifically hate Black women and I'm a Black man, and therefore I'm going to specifically choose a woman just because she's white, and her white skin, to me, overlooks a multitude of all sins, right? Or, you know, same with a Black woman who's just like, all Black men are automatically dusties, and therefore if I just pick any old white Brad that will accept me, then I'm leveling up. Bad thinking. Again, you put a target on your back, and then God forbid some shit happen where you do need community support or where you do need help or whatever it may be. Now you have, you know, people who are less likely to help you. You really do. And like I said, unless you maybe have some other group like a spiritual community or a church or something that would rally around you, a strong, well-connected family that has a lot of money, you're kind of going to be on your own, especially if you have openly disdained people. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a right thing. I know we had an argument earlier on where it's like, well, just because somebody says something bad about the community, does that mean they should just be ostracized? So of course we could have a conversation as to whether or not that's valid. But unfortunately, by and large, that's the way it's currently working. So that's what I'll say, even if you are a woman and you really legitimately have issues with, Black men, you're a Black woman that has issues with Black men, or you're a Black man and you have issues with Black women, you don't like them, you think that they are all fill in the blanks. Like, those are things that I think should be addressed and unpacked lovingly, perhaps in therapy, perhaps with a good, a spiritual pastor or a mentor or somebody that is emotionally well and spiritually well and kind of help you navigate and address those traumas in a constructive way so that the past doesn't continue to repeat in your future. I would lovingly encourage anybody who has that ideology or who does not like themselves to deal with that, but not just accept it as normal and then take that hatred into another community and think it's not going to affect you, because unfortunately it really can. And like I said, it can end up fatal. And that is what we see happening in this scenario. Unfortunately, he'll never have the chance to speak up for himself. We know some of those tweets that were said were back when he was a kid. So it's like, yeah, people can change and grow and evolve. But unfortunately, he'll never be able to talk and say whether or not that was his case. He'll never be able to speak up for himself and say, hey, I was just a young kid. I broken up with my girlfriend. I just was tripping. Or no, I actually still believe this. We'll never know because he's not here to talk about it. And that's what I'm saying. We'll never know. And if we do navigate under the whitest right perception, which again, we do live in a racist society. We can't act like that doesn't exist. We can't act like we don't get those subtle messages sometimes. If we operate like that and overlook the person's character, that will shoot you in the face. Like, well, maybe metaphorically, not literally, but sometimes literally, but that will mess you up a lot. That can cause a lot of issues. That can cause a lot of issues. So I just say, like, just be safe. You know what I mean? Be safe. And like I said, just use common sense. And if you don't have common sense, then get it. Like, get it. Right? And deal with your stuff. That's all I'm saying, y'all. So anyways, I hope that made sense. If I'm not making sense, it's because I'm hungry. And you guys, when I get hungry, I feel like my brain just does not operate at full capacity. So I'm about to go get some food. Need to go cook dinner for the night. But y'all, this has been fun. Thank all of you guys for being here. And we will talk later. Stay tuned. I'm going to try to have another live later on this week where we're going to go over Ketanji Brown Jackson. I'm sure some of you guys have a lot to offer on that topic. So stay tuned for that. And we'll talk later. Bye.
Thank you.